Carolinas. Lockdown. This is the Rob Brown Show. Get Rob. Only.
The Fan Upstate.
Thank God it's every Friday is a good Friday. Well, if you don't work on the weekends. Every Friday is a good Friday. But today, this Friday is a real good Friday. This Friday is an incredible Friday. This Friday is an electric factory of a Friday, ladies and gentlemen, because, and I'm real bad at math, but we kick off college football tomorrow at noon, which means that as of right now, there are 17 hours, 58 minutes, and 7 seconds exactly and precisely until Iowa State and Kansas State get us kicked off literally and figuratively tomorrow in Dublin, Ireland. You know how excited I am? Let me tell you how excited I am. Hey, you know the answer is I'm obviously very excited, or else I wouldn't be screaming about counting down 17 hours, 57 minutes, and 34 seconds until we kick off football tomorrow. Let me tell you how excited Rob Brown is about this. Yesterday, I was sitting around at the house. The wife was working from home. She has a real job that requires focus and concentration to do lots of stuff. Yeah, it sounds awful. I listened to her have like real grown-up adult conference calls, and it sounds absolutely miserable. All right, we're going to send it on over to Andy now. All right. Now, I actually really like the people that she works with. They all seem like incredible people. It is absolutely no disparagement towards them. It's just Rob can't do adult grown-up jobs. I've done this. 47. What are you going to do? I've done this goofy-ass job for so long now that if I got canned tomorrow, I'm up Bleep Creek without a paddle because I don't know what the hell else I could do with my life.
I think you're in a better situation than I am.
Oh yeah, no, you're worse off than me.
You're not nearly as old as I am.
But you're obviously
those thoughts are not there. It's like, okay, what else can I do?
You're so locked in. I'm just slightly behind you. But I listen to her calls and I'm like, nah, I can't do that. So yesterday, while she was doing her real job from the house and having to have conversations where she had to like talk about, I'll have that report to you this week. I decided, you know what? I got 2 more episodes of Bet for the Cycle on Saturdays. Tomorrow is the penultimate edition of a Saturday radio program that I've been on for 4.5 years running now. And that show begins tomorrow at noon. So I said, I gotta get ready. I gotta get kicked off. I gotta be ready to roll. So what I decided to do yesterday was to get up out the couch, was to head on down to the local big box, the warehouse store, whatever.
So you did the thing.
Mm-hmm. So what I decided to do yesterday was to upgrade and renovate the Bro Cave a little bit. Because I don't think I've ever taken you guys behind the scenes of what my home studio looks like. I set up a home studio because we do shows from the house every now and then. The Saturday show is always originated from home. I have done this show if somebody is sick or somebody's going to be out, or if a pandemic is raging across the United States of America, whatever, I do this show from home. So I set up a studio, and the issue is when I set up the studio, I put a big TV to use as my monitor for the show. But in order to use that TV, the show eats up like 80% of the video screen, which means if I want to also put a game on that screen, it's the same as having like a 15 or 16 inch TV up there. It's just not good enough. And then I've got the big TV and the other TVs to the left. But the problem is, in order to watch what's on TV, I have to turn to the left. But the streaming camera's to the right, meaning if I turn to the left to watch the TV, as incredibly structured as this jawline is, you're looking at the side of my head, not a great vibe for doing a show.
So unlike some people around here, you understand ergonomics.
Correct.
Okay. All right.
So unfortunately, that ain't it. And even though I only have 2 Saturdays remaining working a show while major college football is on the television, those 2 Saturdays are kind of 2 huge Saturdays. Tomorrow, again, not an incredible slate of college football, but as of right now, any slate of college football is an incredible slate of college football. You know, it's kind of like if you ain't had mush time with the lady lately, a little make it out in heavy petting might be all you need to get you by for a little while. It's kind of like that. We're all going to second base with college football tomorrow. Not a great slate, just good enough to like make me feel like college football still likes me a little bit. And then next week, we light the candles, pour the champagne, and, go all the way with college football. So next week, the final edition of Bet for the Cycle on the BetMGM network. But it, again, kicks off at noon. You know what else kicks off at noon? Week 1, big week of college football. So I decided yesterday, because I am so excited about tomorrow, week 0, about next Saturday, week 1, that in order to be prepared, I went down to the local big box store. I picked myself up yet another television, because you can get a 42-inch TV, high def, all the good stuff, smart TV, whatever. You can get a 42-inch television right now for like $90. And then I grabbed myself one of those wall extending mount doodads. I picked up one of those for like $22. I went in for like $100 yesterday, and I just added myself another TV to the battle station. This one off to the side of the big mounted TV. It pops off the wall. It angles towards me. Now I can put whatever I want on that TV. Multiple college football games on that TV as well. And I got to tell you, I did all that for quite literally 2 days. 2 days. Because in 3 weeks, when Bet for the Cycle Es No Mas doesn't exist anymore, then all the TVs will be moved to the wall where the big TV is. And I will have a wall of television screens in front of me to watch all of the big football games. I went out and spent $100 yesterday to hang another 42-inch TV on a bracket mount, on a swinging bracket mount, not just so I have the TV on the wall, but so that I have it at an optimal. I spent $100 so I could get a TV, and then I could angle it like 12 degrees to get optimum football watching angle for 2 days. And I got to tell you, it made absolutely perfect sense to me. Still does to this moment. The wife was like, did you really just drop $100 for a TV for not even 2 days, for 8 hours? Because I'm only on the air 4 hours. I am going to be on the air for the equivalent of one football game and like a quarter and a half of the next.
This is positive thinking for future endeavors. That's all it is. I mean, you're preparing for what comes next.
Oh, without a doubt, because I've already spoken to the folks with the network. I'm not done with the network. I'll still be doing fill-in spots. I've already talked to 2 other Saturday shows, and they're like, are you doing something else on Saturdays? No, I'm not. Cool, man. Well, like, we talk college football on our Saturday show. Would you be willing to like come on and do guest spots during the day on Saturdays? Yeah, no, absolutely, because I'm not going to be doing anything else. So it'll come into use. But it was like, did I really just drop over $100 or like right at $100 to build myself one more TV just so I could angle an extra TV like 12 degrees toward me for 8 hours of college football over the next two Saturdays? And the answer was not just yes, but hell yeah, I did.
When you're such a giving person as you are, it's okay to take care of yourself sometimes.
Oh, boy, howdy, did I. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome in. Great to have you. What a show do we have lined up for you today, my friends? I mean, just a million things to get to. Coming up over the course of this Friday, as college football does begin tomorrow. Today is the final day, I think it is fair, to lock in preseason predictions, projections, and prognostications. You got a hot take for college football? I want it today. You got a Heisman Trophy winner nobody sees coming? Ladies and gentlemen, I got a guy that I think might be in the mix. And not only do I think this guy might be in the mix, but here's a fun take for you. We're also going to give you, or at least I'm going to give you coming up today, what I think the 12-team playoff bracket looks like. And I need you all to know that aside from rigging up a brand new television yesterday for 8 hours of college football over the next two Saturdays, I also sat down yesterday evening to try to fill out my 12-team college football bracket because I said that I would. So I sat down yesterday to fill out my 12-team college football bracket. And when I did, I struggled a lot. And I struggled a lot because it turns out once you lock in your 5 highest ranked conference champions and you have 7 spots left to give away, and then you've got a couple of teams that you have already declared you believe are a college football playoff quality team, and you lock those in, I ended up in a spot where I had like 2 spots and like 7 teams, including the South Carolina Gamecocks, that I think could be theoretically capable of getting in. I wish I was exaggerating, and so do my wife and pets. I put in about 2 hours and 20 minutes yesterday of filling out a bracket and then going, nah, I hate this, and erasing it and starting over. Filling in a bracket and going, nah, I hate it, erasing it and starting over. So I eventually got to a spot where I said, look, moron, it's like 10:15 at night. You have to lock something in here. So I went ahead and locked in. And coming up in the next hour of the show, I am going to reveal my preseason 12-team college football playoff bracket. And then I want your thoughts. Who did I get wrong? Who did I get right? Who am I too high on? Who am I not high enough on? And there will be, I think, 2 teams at minimum. I think 2 teams I put in that I think some of you are going to think are hot take teams that I'm going to make a legitimate argument for as reasons that I selected them. And the reason I ended up landing on these 2 teams is because the more that I filled in the bracket, the more frequently I found myself falling back on these 2 teams as I really do believe they're going to get there. So we'll do that in the next hour. One of the teams, and I will go ahead and give a light spoiler alert right now. Here's a hot take, prediction, prognostication that I think is going to ruffle some feathers maybe, but I don't know. Maybe it won't. I don't know. Maybe it won't. Here's a prediction I have for you. We got to have a group of 5 conference champion involved in there, right? Like we know that. 5 highest ranked champs, which leads us to believe that we will have an ACC champ, an SEC champ, a B1G champ, and a B12 champ. And then we have our group of 5 conference champion. You know who I landed on? The Navy midshipman. That's where I landed. That's my group of 5 champ when I give you my bracket coming up in the next hour. But there is a specific reason that I landed on them, and that is because Navy quarterback Blake Horvath is a dog. This is a dude that buddy of the show, Mark Shelley, sold me on last year.
Buddy.
And the more that I watched Blake Horvath play, the more I went, like, this dude's an athlete. I think this dude could be maybe not a quarterback, but I think he could legitimately be a running back, like a specialty running back on a lot of competitive Power 5 teams, Power 4 teams, Power 2 teams. I think he's that good. And I think he can do for Navy this year what Ashton Janty did for Boise State last year, if they got the right situation around him. So, hot take number 1, hot preseason prognostication number 1. I have already told you I have a ticket on both quarterbacks from Clemson and South Carolina to be at the Heisman Trophy celebration at the Downtown Athletic Club in New York City, New York at the end of the year. Hot take number 2, I got my third guy that I think is going, Blake Horvath from Navy. I think there's a Navy quarterback at the Heisman Trophy celebration this year. I am bought in on this cat, and I think it is good enough that the Navy midshipman might end up in the college football playoff this year. So there's hot take numero uno. I got a few more for you I'm going to share throughout the course of the show, because at noon tomorrow, in 17 hours, 42 minutes, and 52 seconds, Iowa State and Kansas State are going to kick off a college football game live in Dublin, Ireland. And then it's on. It's on. College football's here. So we're going to talk a bunch of college football today on the show. We're going to fill out our 12-team bracket prediction and prognostication. I'm going to give you some Heisman Trophy threats. I'm going to give you a Natty Championship pick, which we have not done yet. And I want yours too. What's your hot take preseason prediction, prognostication, or projection? We'll take them from you all show long. 844-326-3063 is the number to text, is the number to call. Let's have a day, people, because college football is here. Tomorrow, I love you tomorrow. Rob Brown, the Great Malonzo, and you. The Rob Brown Show's on your radio. Y'all, it's the Fan Upstate. All right, good morning, all you lurkers behind the scenes who aren't commenting on the stream. Do us a favor and stay right there. We'll be right back.
like that for a few
It's
years now.
bad.
Did he have his pants pulled all the way up? Or
No, he was in like a full leather, like squeezy tight suit, like it was the 1970s, and it's like, David, you need some friends. Yesterday, the Southeastern Conference announced that they will indeed, starting in the 2026 college football season, be shifting to a 9-game conference schedule. That is official per Greg Sankey. It will start in 2026. It is a move that Sankey says the league has been considering for a number of years. Greg Sankey said, quote, adding a 9th SEC game underscores our university's commitment to delivering the most competitive football schedule in the nation. This format protects rivalries, increases competitive balance, and paired with our requirement to play an additional power opponent, ensures SEC teams are well prepared to compete and succeed in the college football playoff. Under the new format, the SEC will continue to play without divisions. However, each school will play 3 annual opponents, keep the rivalries intact, will play 6 remaining games that rotate amongst the rest of the league's opponents. Each team will face every other Southeastern Conference program at least once every 2 years, and every opponent, both home and away, over a 4-year span. On top of that, SEC teams are still required, or are now required, I guess I should say, to use one of their 3 remaining games to schedule a, quote, high-quality non-conference opponent, end quote, that must come from the ACC, the Big Ten, the Big 12, or Notre Dame. The SEC will continue to evaluate policies to ensure the continued scheduling of non-conference opponents from the Power 4.
All right, I looked really quick at South Carolina's schedule because I was curious about how many SEC teams they are. They play 8. So they're adding one more game, and they're already playing a high-quality opponent, whether you want to acknowledge it or not, certain people. But Clemson is a high-quality opponent. So the only thing they're doing as far as South Carolina is they're adding one more SEC game.
That is true of every team in the conference. Every team plays an 8-conference game schedule. Every team will now play 9 conference games starting next year. And
who's not playing a quality opponent already? That's what I don't know.
Most teams are, but there are some that are not. And on top of that, now with it being an obligation, obviously the South Carolina Clemson rivalry, unless Clemson was to ditch it, Now it is the game South Carolina has as their non-quality game. Florida plays Florida State every year. That is their quality non-conference game. Georgia plays Georgia Tech every year. While that historically maybe not has been as high quality as, say, playing Clemson or historically playing Florida State, that is their quality game. Kentucky takes on Louisville. So you add that.
All right, I looked up Vandy because that would be the perennial cellar dweller to see if they play a quality opponent, and I don't see one.
There are some that do not, and that is why that was added into the requirement, because a team like a South Carolina is going to go, well, if we've got to play Clemson every year and there's no benefit from that, then you start to run the risk of the SEC teams that do have college football rivalry games that are outside of the conference.
I just think that the better teams are already playing really good teams because they know they have to do that in order to.
Well, for instance, Alabama has always scheduled a quality, but they don't have a non-conference quality rival out there, for instance. Now, they have over the last couple of years, they have scheduled, as they will open with this year, Florida State. They have scheduled Notre Dame. They have traditionally, starting in the early years of Nick Saban, they have traditionally had a quality non-conference opponent on the schedule, but they do not have a rivalry game that fits that criteria, for instance. Historically, Texas has had Oklahoma and Texas A&M. But remember,
both those teams now being in that conference. Texas doesn't have a traditional power non-conference quality game out there. Now they will have to either A, go find one that is annual, or B, put in the work to have one scheduled every single year. That is the requirement so that everybody has a level playing field. But I do think that there is a deeper reason that this is happening. I think the deeper reasoning is the negotiations, or perhaps lack thereof, between the Southeastern Conference and the Big Ten to arrive at the format that will be used for the 16-team college football playoff expansion. Quick rundown of where we've been and what we know has happened so far. We know that the discussion about going to 16, I will tell you that's already done. It is happening. The holdup on announcing it and making it official is twofold. Number one, they have until December 1st to make that decision. Now, granted, that hit a little differently when it was March and April. It's now August, almost September. So we're in a different calendar now. September, October, November, you're giving yourself 3 months to make a historic decision about the future of college football. So they needed to get on the same page. Then you go back to the SEC spring meetings back in April, which was 9 years ago. And you will remember that we all got a bit of a shock. And this happened on the radio in real time, because during I don't remember if it was the first or second day of the spring meetings down in Destin, Florida, for Greg Sankey in the SEC. But Sankey kind of shocked everybody to some degree by grabbing a microphone and saying to all of us that SEC coaches had all gotten together in a meeting and had decided that for the 16-team playoff, they preferred a 5+11 model. It had been, to the point of assumption, believed that the college football landscape, when we went to 16, would have a 4-4-2-2 plus model. That is to say, 4 automatic qualifiers to the SEC, 4 automatic qualifiers to the Big Ten, 2 to the ACC, 2 to the Big 12, 1 to the group of 5 conference champion, and the rest would be filled in at large, including Notre Dame. But the SEC coaches came out and said, we want 5+11. 5 highest ranked conference champions, and then 11 at large bids. Now, my conspiracy theory, that I do not think is really a conspiracy theory, is the fact that the SEC will always get 4. There will not be a year moving forward in the current iteration of the SEC and the current iteration of college football. There will never be a year where the Southeastern Conference does not have 4 of the top 12 teams, the conference champ, and then 3 of the remaining 11 at-large spots. I believe more often than not, the SEC will have 5 teams. They will have the conference champ, and then as many as 4 of the 11 at-large spots will be occupied by a Southeastern Conference team. So a 4-4 model creates a world in which, yes, the SEC gets 4 of the 16. I'm bad at math, but that is 25% of the field guaranteed to them any given year. The problem is the Big Ten, even if they are on paper or on the field dramatically worse than the SEC, is also guaranteed 25% of the playoff field. Then 25% of the playoff field is guaranteed to a mix of the ACC and the Big 12. And there is only room for a 5th SEC team, or perhaps a 6th, because I do think that there will be some years, not a majority, not even a huge sum, but there will be some years. I think it is possible that the Southeastern Conference could at least make the argument to have 6 teams in the college football playoff. And so if you're Greg Sankey, why would you agree to a measure that guarantees you 4 teams when you are, with some level of confidence, able to predict that you're going to get 4 in a 5+11, but a 5+11 opens up more spots that could potentially go to a 5th team, maybe a 6th. So here's the thought. It goes to when I say the negotiations or lack thereof. The Big Ten, when the SEC said, hey, we'd like a 5+11 model in the grand scheme of the college football playoffs, Tony Petitti in the Big Ten fired back and said, we're not on board with that unless you, like we did, go to a 9-conference game schedule. We have to play more games against top-tier opponents in order to qualify. So we would rather have 4 guaranteed spots and compete for a 5th in those 3 at-larges than get 1 guaranteed spot and believe that we're going to be able to claim at least 3 out of 11 at large, maybe sometimes 4. So in order to get what the Southeastern Conference wants in the big picture, the 16-team college football playoff, because that is inevitable. That is to me, that's already done. They just haven't announced it yet because they want to have the format down first. This to me feels like the Southeastern Conference saying, this is not going to be successful unless the Big Ten's on board. And the Big Ten is not going to be on board unless we also do 9 conference games, which is why earlier this week, when the rumors started coming out that the Big Ten was going to issue a proposal for a 24 or 28 team college football bracket, I said to all of you, I think this is a negotiating tactic. I think this is the Big Ten saying to the SEC, if you do not do the 9-game conference schedule, not only will we not agree to a 5+11 model, but we will actually start increasing the amount of crazy stuff that we bring to the table to try to make happen, to make your lives even more difficult. So give us what we want, and then we'll give you what you want. Which leads me to believe that while it may not happen based on background political stuff, I do believe that sometime within the next couple of weeks, we will hear the announcement that the 16-team playoff field has been approved and that a 5+11 format is what will be used to dictate who is in and who's out. I believe this is the Southeastern Conference acquiescing to the request of the Big Ten to play 9, to match them so that the SEC can get their way of not just 16, but the 5+11 format in it. We'll talk more about that coming up on the Rob Brown Show in the Fan Upstate.
Surgery on Thursday, but is expected to be ready for spring training next season. Despite an 8-2 record over their last 10, the Braves are 4th in the NL East. 16 games out of the division lead. They're 9 games out of a wild card. NFL preseason Thursday, the Steelers beat the Panthers 19-10. Bryce Perkins 10 of 11 passing, 71 yards. Jack Plummer 7 of 14 with a touchdown and an interception. Both teams open up the season on September the 7th. The Panthers will head to Jacksonville to open things up. Then Arizona the following week. The home opener September 21st against the Atlanta Falcons. Listen anywhere on the Odyssey and TuneIn apps, and now the iHeartRadio app. Search the Fan Upstate. I'm Chuck Sanders. That's the Sports Flash on the Fan Upstate.
Up to the minute upstate traffic. Greenville County's I-385 overnight road work is complete and clear. Spartanburg County remains problem-free with no reported trouble spots. All systems are go for your morning commute through the upstate. You should remember that Gap Creek Road.
Morning, Mike. Good to have you, buddy. Thanks for being here, as always. P1 without a doubt. Stay right there, guys. Down.
Sorry, the cooler's broken. Anyone see my flip-flops? Anyone?
But COVID-19 can steal a lot more.
I just took a COVID test. Ugh.
Prescription medications for COVID exist. If you test positive this summer, ask your doctor if they're right for you. Visit PfizerForAll.com/COVID-19 to learn more. Sponsored by Pfizer.
From the Ingles Market Studio.
Punch your ticket to the best local sports. 97.7 FM Greenville, 97.1 FM Spartanburg. Always streaming wherever you are on the Odyssey app.
Upstate.
Let's add one more thing to the mix of this announcement yesterday that the Southeastern Conference will be starting next season, moving to a 9-game conference slate. I've already given you what I think is the biggest reason this decision ultimately got made. I think that this is the Southeastern Conference making a negotiation with the Big Ten. I think it is giving the Big Ten what they want in order for the Big Ten to give the SEC what it wants. And I think for the SEC, what the SEC wants is a little bit more big picture. That is to say, the Southeastern Conference wants the 5+11 model in the 16-team college football playoff. My belief is because, as mentioned, I think the Southeastern Conference believes they will always get 4. But with a 5+11 model, they can sometimes get 5 and maybe once in a blue moon get 6 teams into the college football playoff. Whereas with the 4-4-2-2+ model, they're going to get 4 more often than not. At least they have opened the door to give themselves a 5th and maybe occasionally 6th team in the college football playoff. But in order to make that format happen, a format that is likely better for them than the 4-4-2-2+ model, a model that is better for the Big Ten than the SEC, they had to at least say, we will go to a 9-game conference slate, which the Big Ten likely believes makes it a more competitive race to get extra spots in a 5+11 model. So I do think that that is one major aspect of it. But I do think, and the timing is precipitous here, I do think there is one more reason that this decision was made by the Southeastern Conference. And I think this decision is largely, or largely in part, because of the college football playoffs decision. As we announced, we didn't announce it. Heather Denich and the SEC announced it, or the College Football Playoff Selection Committee, same thing, announced it.
Poof.
That the College Football Playoff Selection Committee would also begin to use, quote, enhanced metrics in order to determine their rankings through the and at the end of the year. Why is that a boo? Why are we out on that?
You just asked me why I'm out on AI?
Again, it's not necessarily AI.
It's not necessarily not either.
I agree. But why are we going to act as if it is a thing? We'll put that aside for a minute. It was yesterday.
You're not going to change my mind. So.
Oh, I'm well aware of that. It was 2 days ago that the College Football Playoff Selection Committee announced that moving forward, they would be using enhanced metrics that put added weight on quality wins and quality losses. You get more credit for quality wins and less punishment for quality losses. You get punished more for non-quality losses and less credit for non-quality wins. So if you book a really tough schedule, and this is something I have said I think is a reality down the line, I've already told you, I think the SEC is good enough this year that there is a bonus game. There is a bonus point on the record available for teams in that conference. I think that there is a very good chance that and this is great for South Carolina because I think this is not just possible, I think it's potentially a probable outcome. I think there's a very good chance that a 9-3 Southeastern Conference team could get a playoff bid ahead of a 10-2 Big 12 team, potentially ahead of a 10-2 Atlantic Coast Conference team. Now, I also think the ACC is better this year than anybody's given it credit for, and maybe that takes away from that being a reality. I do not think that is true in the Big 12. So I will leave my this is where I'm at stance at. I think a 9-3 SEC team will get a playoff spot ahead of a 10-2 Big 12 team. And I think the concept of the enhanced schedule metric will likely boost that as a reality, as a possibility at the end of the year. So I think a part of the reason that the Southeastern Conference is going to a 9-game schedule, I think reason number one is give the Big Ten what they want on an annual basis so that the Big Ten is going to give the Southeastern Conference what it wants on the big picture basis, the 5+11 model. But I think the other side of this is the belief that if we are using an enhanced metric, whether it is true or not, whether it is fair or not, whether you agree or disagree with it or not, the Southeastern Conference begins every college football season with an acknowledgement as it is the strongest conference in America, no ifs, ands, or buts, by the media and I think a lot of the college football fan base. Every year, the SEC begins with a bunch of teams ranked higher than most other teams, which means that as long as all of those teams play around expectations, if you play 9 conference games in the SEC, you are using the preseason enhanced metrics, if you will, almost guaranteed that your playoff teams on paper have some of the most difficult schedules in college football, even if it is circular reasoning. The belief that, well, if you all start high without having to prove that you are high, man, if you have to start high and without playing a single game, do not have to prove that you are justified in having that many teams starting at the top of the list, then you have an inherent preseason advantage when it comes to your schedule looking more quality than other conferences. Again, if I am right, hypothetically speaking, not having the argument about whether I am or whether I'm not, for the sake of this conversation, let's assume, for the sake of this conversation, that I am right about the ACC this year, that it is a better conference than it is being credited for being by fans and the media at large. Let's start with the assumption, for the sake of the conversation, that the ACC is a good conference this year. Not as good as the SEC. Maybe, let's say maybe, again, for the sake of the conversation, let's say it is level with or a half a step behind the Big Ten in top to bottom quality. If that is the case, then it can be argued that if the preseason metrics are a big factor, and they are, the ACC could look and say, wait. If you look at a team that is starting in the SEC, that is starting towards the top of the list, let's pick one at random. Let's say number 9, LSU. I don't know if LSU is good this year. I know on paper, LSU has the talent, and I mean this. On paper, I think LSU has the talent to compete with every team in America. I think LSU has the talent to compete with Texas, Penn State, Ohio State, Clemson, without a doubt. That's not my question about LSU. My question about LSU is, if things do not start out well, and they have the potential not to, they've got Clemson on the road. That is not just a losable game. They're an underdog in that game already. Then 2 weeks later, they get a small team in the middle. And then 2 weeks later, the number 15 ranked Florida Gators come to the crib. There's a very good chance LSU starts 1-2. A very realistic chance LSU starts 1-2. Well, if I'm, let's say, SMU, and I'm starting at number 16, despite being a playoff team last year, I could make the argument that should we not look at the fact that we've got Clemson in the regular season? We've got a handful of other ACC teams, Louisville, UNC, Georgia Tech, Florida State, Duke, all receiving top 25 votes. The circular reasoning here would be LSU would get in those advanced schedule metrics some preseason credit early for being who they are, which means they start way ahead of us in the top 25, meaning that LSU by default gets more leniency with their rankings throughout the course of the year. So if I'm a team like SMU is the example that I'm using here, I would say the advanced metrics kind of do me in a little bit. What the Southeastern Conference is doing here is taking full advantage of that fact. They're saying, we believe annually that the top 25 is going to be chock-a-block full of Southeastern Conference teams. And traditionally and historically, they're right about that. So by going to 9 conference games, they give the Big Ten what they want. We will adjust our conference slate to match yours so that we match your annual level of competition. But they also take advantage of those enhanced metrics that the College Football Playoff Committee is going to be using from this point forward. Hey, guys, would you look at that? Our schedule includes, hell, let's count them for the fun, Texas, Georgia, Alabama, LSU, South Carolina, Florida, Oklahoma, Texas A&M, Tennessee. There are 9 top 25 teams in the Southeastern Conference. By going to a 9-game conference slate, the Southeastern Conference gets to say, we are going to start every team annually. We are going to start the season with the schedule that includes more top 25 teams than any other conference in college football. And if that is the case, the enhanced metrics at the end of the year should reflect that. Because even if those teams lose in conference, they have lost in conference in a conference that has 9 top 25 teams in it. Of course, some teams are going to take some losses. Everybody's going to have 4 or 5 minimum preseason top 25 teams in it. So, of course, we're going to have more conference losses to preseason top 25 teams than anybody else. This is one of the arguments I have made for years about getting rid of preseason polls. It is also, again, never going to happen because we have got a game tomorrow at noon between Kansas State and Iowa State that many of you would not watch. If this game was week 4 at noon, it'd be like priority game number 7 for you. But it's going to get a huge audience tomorrow. Not just because it is the first college football game to kick off. It is going to get a huge audience tomorrow because it's the first college football game to kick off, and it's a top 25 matchup. It's 2 teams that believe they can win that conference and be a playoff team. The first game out of the gate on tap for the 2025 college football season is betwixt a pair of teams whose preseason top 25 ranking says they're a playoff threat. I'll keep it a buck with you. I don't think Iowa State's a playoff threat. I don't think they're winning that conference. I think Kansas State maybe is a playoff threat. Avery Johnson's a real deal. That team's got some playmakers. I still think Arizona State is going to win that conference because Avery Johnson's a dog for Kansas State, but so is Sam Levitt. And the wide receiver core Sam Levitt has is unbelievable. Unbelievable this year. So, on paper, the top 25 next to the two teams playing tomorrow at noon makes this matchup look sexier than, hey, it's been 6 months. Here's a football game, right? So, I think the Southeastern Conference, and I don't fault them, taking advantage of two things. Number one, give the Big Ten what they want on an annual basis so that they give us what we want in the big picture long term. And B, by doing this, we are ensuring that every SEC team is at least going to start the year with what looks on paper before a single football gets thrown, kicked, caught, or run, what looks like, because we are always favored in the preseason top 25, to be the toughest set of schedules of any conference anywhere. And what does that do for us at the end of the year? Makes it look like every SEC team played a tougher schedule than any other conference. Thanks for the enhanced metrics boost, playoff committee. All right, what's your reaction to that? 844-326-3663. Do I need to go grab Captain America's tinfoil cap and put it on a conspiracy theorist? Or I'm on to something here. I don't know. We'll talk more about it in the next hour. Now, sit back, relax, and enjoy the dulcet tones of Lonzo Sports Flash.
Shout out Tony Petiti. You win again. Dallas Cowboys. Yeah, I'm starting with Dallas news because I have to. It's required. Dallas Cowboys owner Jerry Jones told Michael Irvin yesterday that he made an agreement with Micah Parsons to make him the highest paid guaranteed non-quarterback in the NFL, but that Parsons' agent refused to hear the offer. Neither Parsons nor his agent commented. Adrian Wilson led the Las Vegas Aces to another victory with an 83-61 win over Phoenix. Wilson's 19 points and 13 rebounds led all players in both categories. The Aces haven't dropped a home contest dating back to August 2nd and are currently on a 9-game winning streak that's improved their standings to third best in the league. The Atlanta Braves will be without third baseman Austin Riley for the remainder of the season. Team announced Riley will have season-ending surgery on an abdominal, said it right, injury, which had him on the IR twice so far this season. Sounds painful. Got to say that I was tempted to change abdominal because I didn't think I could say it. And now I've said it right twice, I think. I don't know why. Abdominal. See? Abdominal. Abdominal. Say it along with me. Abdominal. Because I want to say abdominable, which, has to do with the abominable. Can't find a thing. There's a thing. Be back in a moment.
You're on official Rob Brown lockdown. Manufactured locally for the Carolinas. This is the Rob Brown Show.
Friday, gotta get down on Friday.
Yeah, baby. The Rob Brown Show back on your radio. It's the fan upstate, Lonzo, Rob Brown. That's me. And you. Glad you're here. Hope you're enjoying the show so far. If you're not, sounds like a you problem. We got a lot. We got a lot to get to on the radio broadcast today. We've already spent quite a bit of
Are
time.
you stuttering now?
I'm trying to get my life together, man.
I wasn't looking. I don't know if you head ticked when you did that.
I am at a spot where I think now it's genuinely just, I don't know if it's like adrenaline. I don't know if it's.
Is it in your soul?
Every thought is just out of control right now. I don't know if it's adrenaline. I don't know if it's like a dopamine rush. I don't know precisely what it is. What I know is I am out of my mind right now because I know it's true because in the last hour I kept saying, 17. I understand we're still over 24 hours away. I am just, and this is true, very bad at mathematics. That is a definite, for certain, obvious reality that many of you have taken in at this point. I'm just real bad at math. Okay. And that's just what it is. That's just how it's gonna work.
Well, maybe we're all bad at math too, so it doesn't make you being bad at math seem nearly as bad.
No, I'm real bad at math. And I understand I'm real bad at math. And I accept that I'm real bad at math. And it's okay. I don't mind being bad at math. Here's what I do know. What I do know is we are not 17 hours away. What I know is we are 24 plus 4 hours, so 28 hours and 53 minutes and 5 seconds away.
So someone corrected you.
Yeah, 100%. And deservedly so, because I was very wrong. You've listened to this show. I'm not good at math, all right? That's why, as mentioned, all of my jobs are words jobs, because I'm an idiot. I know that. You know that. We all know that. So let's just accept it and move on. You're excited. I'm excited. Football kicks off in just more than 24 hours from now. So let's stop judging Rob Brown and just celebrating the fact that football's almost here.
I think there are a lot of people who start their morning judging Rob Brown. So
that's very fair. You're not wrong.
Why take that away from them?
There are probably people who get up ready to judge Rob Brown. They're like, "Yep, let's get him. Let's get him. He deserves it." And in fairness, I probably do. To be honest with you. All right, people, we have got like so many things to get to on the radio broadcast today. We got to talk a little bit more about the SEC's announcement yesterday that they will be going to a 9-game conference slate. Shocker of shockers, that's going to be on the water cooler cheat sheet here in just mere moments from now. We've got to talk a little bit more because, again, I have elected. I'm going to give Jerry Jones what he wants. We're going to talk about the Cowboys because I am relatively confident at this point, after the conversation we had yesterday, that continued discussion about the Dallas Cowboys is the reason that the team ain't won nothing and ain't gonna win nothing moving forward.
Did you know the Panthers played last night?
I did. We're going to talk about that coming up on the show because that is an also item on the water cooler cheat sheet.
Talk with anybody about that, maybe?
We sure are, Lonzo. I am ever so glad that you brought that up because we are going to talk with the legendary Rashad Beard, host of the Panther Nation podcast, coming up here in just over an hour and a half from now. And I'm very much looking forward to that discussion to get the thoughts of one Rashad Beard on the final preseason Panthers game of the season. They got beat by the Steelers last night, 0-3 to start the preseason. Preseason records don't matter.
And Steve Smith talking about his money problems. which was hilarious.
Okay, so let's start with the obvious. Steve Smith is a buddy of the show. All right. Now, I didn't have Steve Smith on this show.
Wasn't a buddy of that dude's. Well, he was a buddy of that dude's
He
wife.
was a buddy of that dude's wife. Was not a buddy of that dude. Sorry. That's the respect gets called out online for going, you know what, for going boomski on a bro's wife and hits the dude with a sorry, my bad. That's on me. No, I mean, it was on you. That was the point, Steve. That was the point. I'm just going to say, I can't decide, and it doesn't matter now because the preseason's over. I can't decide if Steve Smith was incredible on the preseason broadcast or tragic on the preseason broadcast, or like a healthy mix of both, you know?
Yeah, I think he was mid at best, but he threw in some zingers that made you go, "Oh,
yeah,
did he just really say that?" So
there was one spot that bothered me a little bit. So if you didn't watch the preseason game, we'll do this real quick, and then we'll get to the water cooler cheat sheet here in mere moments from now. There was one spot where Jack Plummer was in the game for the Panthers last night, and they were, I believe, trying to run either a screen or like a tight end underneath route at the second level. And Jack Plummer took a sack because the offensive line collapsed. It was a predominantly backup offensive line making their last case to be on the team, get their depth chart position established, whatever. Steve Smith is in the booth alongside buddy of the show, and he's Schruff, and former Panther quarterback Jake Delhomme. And there was a play where...
Hey, where did Jake Delhomme's accent go? Didn't you used to have an accent?
Wait, didn't you used to have a Jamaican accent? Jake Delhomme, Louisiana boy, if I recall correctly.
Yeah.
But a lot of those guys, with a very few rare exceptions, and I've been told this before, a lot of us in the game are instructed to drop an accent because if you have an accent, you're kind of locked into that region, right? Like if I came down here with a big, thick, upstate New York accent, a lot of people would not have any interest in me just based on how I sound. If I came, I don't even know why I made myself an upstate New Yorker. If I came in here with my like a thick Louisiana accent, like that cold ass, if I came in here talking like Ocho, and I just said football, go Tigers. I did this whole show like Ocho, which, by the way, he did a podcast the other day we got to talk about. It was hilarious. But if I came in here talking like Ocho, like I'm a friend from the water boy, I get run out of town on a rail. Like people would have zero interest in what I had to say before I said anything. So I think that's probably part of it. But Jack Plummer takes a sack on, it was either a screen that failed to set up or an underneath tight end route. Either way, offensive line breaks down. Plummer takes a sack. Jake Delhomme, who I could be incorrect about this, Lonzo, correct me if I am wrong here, played quarterback in the NFL, if I recall correctly.
He was a Super Bowl quarterback,
yeah,
actually.
Yeah, I believe he played quarterback.
He didn't win, but he got to the Super Bowl.
So Jake Delhomme breaks this play down. He's like, all right, here's what happened. Jack Plummer did this. Offensive line failed here. Here's the route that took too long to develop, whatever. He gave the breakdown of the play. I think it was either late first or early second quarter. But he gives the breakdown of the breakdown. Gives the breakdown on the sack. And as soon as he's done, Steve Smith's like, nah, what actually happened was, and I'm like, that's not what happened, Steve. Like, that's not what happened. That's not a thing, Steve. I love Steve Smith. I do. As a Saints fan, hated Steve Smith because he was the biggest bleep talker on the planet. And that's part of what made him so good. But I'm watching this, and I loved him in the pregame. Like, I loved him in the pregame because he was just talking ball from the perspective of a guy who's been there, done that in a very unique situation going into the final preseason game of a team season. And I was like, all right, you know what? It's not perfect, but like, this is a regional broadcast. I don't expect, the highest quality broadcasters in this spot. These are all for every team. These are local guys, regional guys, former players, whatever. So Steve Smith gives the breakdown of why Jack Plummer got sacked right after Jake Delhomme, former NFL quarterback, gave the breakdown of why Jack got sacked. And I'm like, that's not what happened, Steve. He's like, well, if he steps up in the pocket to the left, there was a little bit of room there. And I look, and I'm like, the defensive tackle was right there. Where do you want him to step up to, man? He's like, gotta step in the pocket. Effectively came to, and I get it. Steve Smith didn't want to assign blame anywhere except to the guy who is likely, I think, not going to be on the roster, or at least not going to be on the main roster. Like Jack Plummer
Yeah.
is going to be the emergency third quarterback.
Maybe Steve Smith is coming at it from a shorter perspective. So he saw room where someone taller would not have seen it.
I don't know what he saw.
I mean,
I know the breakdown that he gave about what a quarterback did wrong.
I thought he kind of mailed it in yesterday. It was, yeah.
There's also some element of, I think Steve Smith knows that, like, Panther fans are going to love him no matter what. So, like, he doesn't need to show up and be the best football analyst in the world because, like, I'm Steve Smith. But I don't know. We had Steve Smith on this station last year before the season. And I got to tell you, it was one of the best interviews we've ever had. Diesel and I got the chance to interview him, and we got done with that interview. Again, as a Saints fan who could not stand Steve Smith, I got done with Steve Smith, and I was like, yeah, that was awesome. Like, that was a great conversation. So, I don't know. Here's what I do know. What I do know is it's late, and we are going to have to sprint through it, but we will sprint through it because we're damn good at this, the water cooler cheat sheet.
Are you ready for the playbook of the peculiar, the almanac of the absurd, and the encyclopedia of the extraordinary? Well, you better be, because we're diving headfirst into the 3 top stories that will have your coworkers say,
Are you guys sniffing on newsprint or something?
before they take their first bathroom break.
No.
Here we go. Welcome to the water cooler cheat sheet on the Fan Upstate.
The abbreviated rapid fire edition of the water cooler cheat sheet, the top 3 sports stories you need to know before you get to the office and start talking sports. All of these will be brought up later in the show, so I give you the deets now. Item number 1. 19 points led all scorers, 13 rebounders led all rebounders for A'ja Wilson as the Las Vegas Aces beat the Phoenix Mercury last night, 83-61. Now a regular season game and a result not going to get A'ja Wilson on the water cooler cheat sheet. You know what will? The fact that Las Vegas now has not lost since a 111-58 home defeat to Minnesota back on August 2nd. That has pushed the team, who at that point was 500 at 14-14, 8th in the WNBA. Now 23-14 with the 3rd best record in the WNBA. Jackie Young, Chelsea Gray, and Alyssa Smith all had a dozen apiece for the Aces. They have won 11 of the past 12, 7 straight at the crib has Becky Hammond's Las Vegas Aces. A'ja Wilson, her 18th double-double this season. However, her string of 30-point games snapped at 3. The Aces are not just a good basketball team that is, in my opinion, very much alive for a WNBA title, but A'ja Wilson is well on her way to winning another league MVP. We came into the year. Will it be the rookie phenom Paige Beckers? Will Caitlin Clark in year number 2? Can Angel Reese prove to the haters that she's worthy of a nod for MVP? Nada! The OG, the stud, the gangster. A'ja Wilson said, sit down, ladies. I got this. And she did it again last night. Let's go to item numero 2. Michael Irvin has a YouTube channel. Jerry Jones was on it yesterday because, it had been almost 24 hours since Jerry Jones talked about the Micah Parsons situation. However, what he said yesterday was actually kind of interesting. Jerry Jones told Michael Irvin that, quote, nobody appreciates Micah Parsons more than the Cowboys or me. Nobody has offered him more money than I have to play football, period, end quote. Jerry Jones told Michael Irvin yesterday that he did make an offer to, and he believed that Micah Parsons had accepted an offer to have the most guaranteed money of any non-quarterback in the National Football League. In fact, he said that at one point, he had given Micah Parsons an offer of $200 million. That would have been more than Myles Garrett's $123.5 million and Nick Bosa's $119.9 million. Now, Micah Parsons has said that ain't true. So what's very interesting here is twofold. Number one, Jerry said that when he called Micah Parsons' agent. Now, I do want to, for the sake of fairness, because while I do blame all of this on Jerry, I also find it important to be fair in the conversation. Jerry said that Micah's agent, when he gave him the call to make him the offer that he thought Micah had already agreed to as a player, he said the agent told me to, and I quote, stick it up my ass, end quote. Okay? I do want to keep in mind, again, for the sake of fairness, this is the same agent that at a time represented T. Higgins. T. Higgins fired this agent and then immediately signed a deal for, if I recall correctly, $112 million with the Cincinnati Bengals, which made him, at the time, one of the top either 2 or 3 highest paid players in the National Football League. So I do acknowledge that there is a chance that down the line, I will have to hand Jerruh an apology and say, no, it turns out it really was Micah's agent causing all these problems, because he has caused the problem once in the past. However, the other interesting thing is that late yesterday afternoon, Micah Parsons, and I'm not saying that this is like a gigantic thing because we've seen it happen in the past. It is, at the end of the day, a negotiating tactic. But Micah Parsons yesterday had, either he did or his social media team did, scrub every single bit of Dallas Cowboys content from his social media.
Oh, no.
All of it's gone.
Oh, no.
Again, not saying it's the end of the world. We have seen athletes do this before and then re-sign with the team. But the fact that he had not done it yet, and then out of the blue did it yesterday after Jerry's comments on Michael Irvin's YouTube channel went public, drama. Here's the point. If Jerry says, I want it to be a soap opera 365 days a year, his words, not mine, and the Dallas Cowboys haven't won a Super Bowl in 30 years, but they've always been at the front of the conversation, I'm good with it. We may or may not talk about this later on the show. Let's find out. Either way, item number 3. This one we talked about extensively back in the first hour of the radio broadcast. If you missed it after the show, go to thefanupstate.com, go to the top of the page, click on the podcast button, drop it down, select the Rob Brown Show, and download and listen to on demand at your leisure. Hour number 1 of the show to get all my thoughts on it. I will probably talk more about it later on in the show. It was announced yesterday by Greg Sankey, the commissioner of the Southeastern Conference, that starting next year, the SEC would join the Big Ten in playing a 9-conference game regular season slate. I have a couple of theories on why this decision was made, when this decision was made. My big overarching belief about why this decision was made, very simple. Because the SEC wants the 5+11 model. They have established that many times over. The Big Ten has remained steadfast that they want the 4-4-2-2-1 plus model. 4 AQs for the Big Ten and the SEC, 2 to the ACC and the Big 12, 1 for the Group of 5 champion that is highest ranked, and then 3 at large bids. The SEC wants 5+11, I believe, because they think they will always have 4, sometimes have 5, and very occasionally get 6. The Big Ten wants the 4-4 model because under that model, they will always get 4. But there are some years they may only get 3. And there are very few years they'll get 5, probably never going to get 6, at least not the way that things have been trending as of late. So the Big Ten said, we want you to go to 9 games like we have so that your teams have to play a longer, tougher schedule in order to get to a spot where maybe you get a 5th or 6th team in. The SEC said, we will do that, provided you give us the 5+11 so that we can get a 5th or a 6th team in. The second reason I think the SEC, A, did this, and B, did it yesterday out of the blue, quote unquote, is because it came a day after the College Football Playoff Selection Committee announced that they would, beginning this year, be using enhanced metrics to determine their rankings, and the enhanced metrics are basically about schedule strength. The Southeastern Conference says we are going to start annually with a lot of teams inside the top 25. There are 9 of them this year. Over half of the conference is inside the top 25. So what does that say? That says that the teams in that conference have an earlier advantage in where they start in the top 25, which means that losses will not ding them up in the final top 25 as much as they would in other conferences. And that means that those enhanced metrics, which give more credit to quality wins and more punishment to non-quality losses, they will favor the SEC at the end of the year. So they're going to get their way with the 5+11, which means that they are going to have more teams able to get in than any other conference. And by doing this way, it also means the enhanced metrics will give them more credit for more quality wins and quality losses at the end of the year. Where are you on that? How do you feel about that? Am I right or am I a conspiracy theorist? We'll talk more about it later on in the show. When we come back, let's start filling out our 12-team preseason playoff bracket prognostication. That's next on The Rob Brown Show and the Fan Upstate. All right, guys, stay right there. We'll be right back. Women's Rugby World Cup kicks off today. USA versus England at 2:30. Luke, I didn't know that. It wasn't on the radar. It wasn't on the old noodle. And I will tell you right now, that is somebody who is a very elementary level, sophomoric, unfortunately, painfully not educated rugby fan. I will tune in and watch. 100%. I will tune in and watch that event today at 2:30 p.m. Here is my question, Luke. Not today, and it may or may not be during this tournament. Would you and the rest of Los Gatos, would you guys be willing one day to perhaps meet a small town local yokel ain't nobody radio host at a local watering hole and educate me on rugby? Like, genuinely give me the rundown, because it is a game that I want to learn, want to understand. Unfortunately, I just do not have many close friends that are in the rugby world. And I am a big believer of learning the game from people who are passionate about the game. That is how I got into soccer. That is how I got into NASCAR. And I believe it is my path to getting more into rugby, which you can thank Alana Mayer for getting me more into over the last couple of years. Would you down the line be willing to meet up with a local yokel nobody radio show host and explain rugby to me during some matches in a way that I could learn it? Because I'd like to. Stay right there, BRB. Alonzo and you. We are going to, over the course of today, fill out what I believe will be the 12 teams in the college football playoff bracket at the end of the year. Let's start with the teams that earlier this week and late last week we discussed, debated, and selected as our conference champions. And I will go with the 5 that we know are getting in this year, I believe, as conference champs. I am going to start with the ACC because it is, as far as I'm concerned and can tell, the only conference that seems to be unanimously favored as having a definite conference champion, and that is the Clemson Tigers out of the ACC. Not only do I think they are your conference champions, I am obviously quite comfortable in saying they will indeed get a first-round bye if they are. Now, I do want to establish that with a caveat. The caveat being that I don't think the Tigers are undefeated at the end of the year. I do not think this is a 12-0 season. And that's not a shot. A lot of people think that's a shot. That is not a shot. That is just a reality of my prediction, presumption, prognostication, whatever you want to call it, that the Atlantic Coast Conference is a better conference than it's being given credit for this year, A. And B, the fact that last year, this team was 0-3 against Southeastern Conference teams. Well, you catch a not playoff team, because I think there is a good chance that both LSU and South Carolina could get in. I think there's also a better chance that neither of them gets into the playoffs. But you bookend your season, which does include Louisville, which does include a rebounded Florida State team, which does include last year's ACC title game opponent in SMU. You bookend it with SEC teams, which last year was bad news for you, 0-3 against SEC teams. So I do not think it is a 12-0 season. The good news for you is, and I mean this, I don't think we're going to have a 12-0 team this year. I really don't. I do not think that. I think there are some teams that are clearly better teams, clearly teams that, if everything goes right, are much more national championship worthy on paper than other teams. Obviously, we don't play the games on paper, as the old expression goes. But I mean it when I say I don't think that there is a 12-0 team this year. I am willing to say I might be wrong about this. There's a chance Penn State goes 12-0. As we have mentioned, Penn State's got, I think, 2 games that could be losses on their regular season schedule. And then there's like one interesting spot right there in the middle that they've got a little wonky home away home kind of situation that maybe they get caught in a trap game. I don't think there's an undefeated team this year. So that's not to say Clemson can't be the 1 seed. It just depends where you take your 1 or 2 losses in the regular season. If it's 2, you won't be the 1 seed, because I do think there's an 11-1 team, maybe 2 of those out there. But you got LSU at the beginning, South Carolina at the end. You got to go to Georgia Tech. I've already told you, I think Georgia Tech's for real this year. I think that might be a 10-2 football team this year, no joke. You got the wild card of North Carolina, and you are at North Carolina. You got SMU, a team that won some revenge. Probably not as good as last year. Not a bad football team. You got Duke, who won 9 last year. And oh, by the way, that Duke game is wedged in between a game against a top 25 team and repeat from last year's ACC title game, SMU. And the next week, Florida State. And I will tell you that while I am not convinced that it is true, as I have done a lot of shows and podcasts around the country over the past couple of weeks, I can say that more people, not saying that they are right, just giving you the opinion, more people think there's a bounce back year for Florida State in store than think that they're going to be bad again this year. So that 9-win Duke team in the middle is very interesting. Then after those 3 home games, you got to go on the road to Louisville, and then you wrap up at Willie B against South Carolina. I do not think it is an undefeated year for the Clemson Tigers. I do think it's a playoff year as ACC champions. Over in the Southeastern Conference, I've selected the Georgia Bulldogs. I think the championship pedigree and experience, They already showed you last year against a team that most people thought was better, the Texas Longhorns. They went and got it done in the the SEC title game. I bank on them to do it again this year. I've got Georgia in the 12-team playoff. Out of the B1G, I am falling for it again. And if I get it right, great. I'm going to feel like a big, smart college football boy at the end of the year. If I get it wrong, I'm going to slap myself in the face for falling for the Big Game James narrative again. But I'm taking Penn State out of the B1G. I'm sure that it doesn't. But I think as long as Drew Allar doesn't choke it up in the big games, which he did last year for the record, but he also did last year. So that XP is under the belt. Hopefully won't be as nervous. I'm taking Penn State out of the Big 10. Out of the Big 12, I have gone back and forth on this conference as much as I did the SEC. I landed on, I'm going to take Arizona State. I'm going to take the Sun Devils. Sam Leavitt is a dog. I like Avery Johnson at Kansas State. More importantly, you ready for the fact that I learned yesterday that jumped off the page at me? This is kind of one of those stats that like you gotta kind of really dive in deep to go find, but I love this. Last year, on rushing plays, when Kansas State was on defense, Kansas State held teams to 0 or negative yards on 25% of run plays they faced. 1 out of every 4 run plays against Kansas State last year was for 0 or negative yards. That's ridiculous. That was like top 8 in the country. That's ridiculous. That being said, Arizona State with Sam Leavitt, and I think a better group of wide receivers than anybody else in that conference, and a head coach in Kenny Dillingham that I, A, believe in, and B, is absolutely willing to let his quarterback throw a gazillion times a game. I think Arizona State just flat out outscores everybody a lot to a little over the course of the year. Give me Arizona State. And here's the one selection that in the shows I've done over the past couple of days, because I landed on this pick on Tuesday, and then we were off on Wednesday. I did a guest spot on a show on Wednesday, late afternoon. I did 2 yesterday. Out of the group of 5, I've seen a lot of people that are going right back to Boise State. And I get it. They've got it. They've done it. They've got the experience. I do not think people understand. And now that we saw him for the Las Vegas Raiders, I think I appreciate him even more. I already appreciated the hell out of Ashton Jeanty. I do even more now. Because if you didn't see Ashton Jeanty run for the Raiders this past weekend, holy crap, dude. Like, guy looked like a man amongst boys in the NFL. That's what he did for Boise State. So, he's gone, though. He's gone. And while I think Boise State still has some players there on the blue turf, I got a hot take selection for my group of 5 team. Give me the Navy midshipmen. Give me Navy as my group of 5 team in the college football playoff this year. And it is because of one dude. And I don't love making a pick because of one dude. But sometimes there is one dude who is just that one dude, and that one dude is their quarterback, Blake Horvath. This dude is a dude. You know what this guy is? I hate to be cliche. Blake Horvath, and he is an undersized guy to play this style of football. 6'2", 195. Not a big dude. Blake Smith is a poor man's Tim Tebow. Like a poor man's Tim Tebow. Only completed 58% of his passes last year. Keeping in mind, it's for Navy. Over 1,300.5 yards, 13 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. But 92 yards rushing against Oklahoma. 107 against Army when they were ranked 22 in the country. 120 on the road against Rice. And he's better this year. Give me Navy as my group of 5 team. So there's my first 5 teams in. Clemson out of the ACC, Georgia out of the SEC, Penn State out of the Big 10, Arizona State out of the Big 12, Navy out of the group of 5. We have got 7 spots to fill in for the remainder. Who else is getting in? Who else is getting left out? I'll give you my thoughts, and we'll take your response on who's right and who's wrong in my bracket when we come back. Spike texts the show, said if Cade gets hurt, all bets are off. Yeah, but like, don't we kind of feel that way about most of these teams? If Arch Manning goes down, I don't really think Texas is them anymore. If I don't know, pick your poison. If Blake Horvath goes down, Navy's out of it.
I don't know if Julian Saying goes down. I think Ohio State's probably okay.
Maybe so.
I don't know.
Or the number one recruit out of high school 2 years ago, who I think had that job wrapped up 4 weeks ago, but Ryan Day wanted to play some games, and I understand it. I would have too. Maybe he really is him. I don't know. We'll find out. But 7 selections remaining to fill into the bracket. Who do you got? We'll talk about it next on the Rob Brown Show in the Fan Upstate. All right, guys, got to do a little bit of work during the break. Stay right there. We'll be right back. The Rob Brown Show on your radio. It's the Fan Upstate. I am going to give you now the rest of my college football playoff teams. 12 teams go in the bracket. I have given you my 5 conference champions. Clemson out of the ACC, Georgia out of the SEC, Penn State out of the Big Ten, Arizona State out of the Big 12, and Navy out of the Group of 5.
I just want to point out really quick, because we only have a very brief history of this, like 1 year. The teams with the buys didn't fare too well last year.
They did not. There is some level of argument, and this is something that was discussed quite a bit at length last year. I think it will be again this year, that maybe the buy isn't all that good, especially if you are a team that is based on chemistry, passing, timing, right? Which some of the teams I have in are that. Maybe the buy isn't a good thing, because if you are if you're the 5 seed and you get a chance to play the 12 seed, it feels, with all due respect to some 12 seeds moving forward, it is going to feel, I think, especially if like last year, Boise State or some of those teams, if the Group of 5 champion is a Group of 5 champ, but they're 10-2, and they go in as the 12 seed, there's some thought that maybe the 5 seed, by getting the easiest game in round 1, maybe that team gets an opportunity to kind of get their chemistry back down together before they jump in. But number 1, Oregon. Ohio State got Tennessee last year. Ohio State found a rhythm against Tennessee. They waxed the Ducks, who were the champs of Ohio State's conference. Arizona State last year had to take on number 5 Texas. Texas got Clemson in round 1, a Clemson team that a lot of people believed was only there because they won the ACC. Texas waxed Clemson, and then were more than ready for Cam Scatterbo and the Sun Devils. There's also a lot of belief that Arizona State wasn't that good. They just kind of backdoored their way in because of the 4 AQs, but hey, whatever. Notre Dame got Indiana. They got Georgia, a team that a lot of people thought was a better team. Granted, with Gunnar Stockton as a quarterback, not Carson Beck, but it stands. And then Penn State got SMU. They took on Boise State. That one, I think it was just a better football team, but different discussion. So Clemson, Georgia, Penn State out of the Big Ten, Arizona State out of the Big 12, Navy as my Group of 5. There's my 5 conference champs. We got 7 to fill in. Here's who I've got left. In no particular order, I just looked at schedules. I looked at preseason predictions, prognostications, and projections. I looked at quality of different matchups and units within them, depending on who was playing who where in the regular season. And here's what I landed on. I will start with this. I think Notre Dame is in this year. I think Notre Dame, as an independent, is going to get in. This is a team starting number 6 in the country. And I initially, in the first couple of times that I filled out my hypothetical bracket, initially I had Notre Dame out because they opened the year with back-to-back top 20 matchups. One of them on the road down in Coral Gables taking on the Miami Hurricanes. The next one back home to take on the Colt of Texas A&M. It is reasonable and realistic that Notre Dame starts the season 0-2. And I will even point out, the schedule ain't exactly easy. They're at Arkansas. Sam Pittman's hungry. Boise State, last year's G5 representative. Dave Doran, I think, with a sneaky good Wolfpack team this year. They got USC. Lincoln Riley's desperate, trying to save his job. At Boston College, back home against Blake Horvath and Navy. Notre Dame will win that game, but hey, you never know. Then you're at Pitt. A lot of people, I am not one of them, but a lot of people very up on the Pitt Panthers this year, Syracuse, and at Stanford. I think it is possible for Notre Dame to go 8-4. I think realistically, they're probably going 10-2. Yes, there are questions about CJ Carr, the starting quarterback. I get it. But I would argue that elsewhere on the football field, Notre Dame is as good as they have been player personnel-wise in a very long time. So I'm going to go with Notre Dame. Yes, they are in this year. Here's who else I've got. This is one I said on BetMGM Tonight the other day. I got Ryan Horvat to follow me on this. I could not talk Brad Evans into following me on this. Take it with the grain of salt it is worth. I'm putting Georgia Tech in the playoff. I think Georgia Tech plays Clemson in the ACC championship game, And hot take if you want it. I think Georgia Tech's finishing this year 10-2. I think Georgia Tech is working with arguably, not saying definitively, but arguably, maybe the best running back, quarterback combination in football. They are on the road at Colorado. I think it's a down year for Colorado. I think this is the year that they realize how important Travis Hunter and Shedeur Sanders were. They got a game against Clemson, but outside of that game and the season ender against Georgia, who else is going to be favored over the Rec? They are at Duke. I've already said a few times, I think the Blue Devils are going to be a better football team than people are giving them credit for, but I also think there's a possibility we find out, it's not really Manny Diaz. It was more Mike Elko when he left to go to A&M, left Duke as stacked as they've ever been. But, tough game. Dave Doran at NC State, got to go on the road. Tough game. Pitt and Narduzzi coming to town. Tough game. That being said, there are 2 games on the schedule Georgia Tech is a dog in. At home against Clemson, at home against Georgia. They're at home in both of those. One of those 2 upsets, they're definitely in. That being said, I think Georgia Tech's ending this year 10-2. I think they have 1 ACC loss. I think it is to Clemson. I think they visit Clemson in the ACC title game. I'm putting Georgia Tech in. Out of the Southeastern Atlantic Coast Conference, I do not think they play for an ACC championship game. I still think they will find their way into the playoffs. Give me the Miami Hurricanes. I know that we say they're back every year, but I think that there is likely on their schedule, there's likely maximum of 2 losses. I think Notre Dame is a potential loss, although it is at home for Miami. If Miami, I'll make this prognostication now, just a tick over 1 week away from the start of the college football season. If Miami beats Notre Dame, they are in the playoff. But here are the games that scare me about Miami. Notre Dame at the crib, number 15, Florida, at home, and then at SMU. That's it. I'm not worried about Florida State yet. They do have NC State. They do have Pitt, the teams we've talked about. Miami will be better than those teams. I think Miami's going to get in. That's my 3 teams from the ACC, Clemson, Georgia Tech, and Miami. From the SEC, I'm taking Georgia to get in as the champs. Give me Bama, give me Texas. I think both are in. I think that, as I have mentioned a few times, and this is where I think Bama is going to be the recipient of this, I think that there is going to be much wailing and gnashing of teeth at the end of the year, because I do think a 9-3 Southeastern Conference team will get in. And I think that there is a very good chance that the SEC gets 4 teams in this year. I really do. I am selecting them to get 3, Georgia, Bama, and Texas. I think Bama might be that team that ends the year 9-3, but they have 3 quality losses that the College Football Playoff Selection Committee says, well, our computer says they were quality. And I think with 3 quality losses, a 9-3 Bama team gets in ahead of potentially a 10-2 Big Ten team, potentially a 10-2 Big 12 team, potentially a 10-2 ACC team. I think Miami's got enough quality on the schedule. They will be able to get in ahead of that. I do not know if a Big 12 team does. I got 3 out of the SEC right now. Georgia, Bama, Texas. Out of the Big 10, I don't think this is going to shock anybody. I'm going to take 3 teams there too. I did not expect that this was going to be the way this worked out. I have already said a number of times, I think the Southeastern Conference is getting 4 in this year. I think they'll get the conference champ and runner-up inside of the top 8. I think they'll get another team at 9 or 10, and I think they will claim the 12th spot. But when I sat down and I kept erasing and refilling out my top 12 teams that were going to get in last year, I ended up with 3 from the ACC, 3 from the SEC, and 3 from the Big Ten. The 3 out of the Big Ten, your Big Ten Conference champions, Penn State, your reigning, defending, undisputed national champions. I think the Ohio State Buckeyes are back in the playoffs this year. And I am going to say that the Oregon Ducks get in. But I'm going to stab that with a caveat. I think the Oregon Ducks are going to get in because of brand recognition. I think if the Oregon Ducks were not a playoff team and the number 1 overall seed last year, I do not think they would get in this year, because I think the Ducks are 10-2 because they've got Penn State, and I think they will drop a dumb game elsewhere. That being said, I think 10-2 with brand recognition behind you, as the Oregon Ducks have, may push them over the edge. Give me Penn State, give me Ohio State, give me Oregon out of the Big Ten. From the Big 12, I got one team going in. Now, I think Kansas State's going to be a threat. I think they could be one of those teams, along with teams like South Carolina, who you will notice, as I have done with the SEC selections, I do not have the Gamecocks in the playoffs this year. Unfortunately for you, the more I sat down, the more I looked at it last night, the more I talked myself into the belief. The back half of that schedule is the toughest in college football. I think there's 3 losses scattered in those 7 games. I think that 3-3 through the last 6 games that aren't Coastal Carolina would be pretty solid for South Carolina. Unfortunately, I think there's just too many teams that are too good, better than you in a number of spots around the football field for even Lenora Sellers as a, I believe, Heisman Trophy finalist to be able to elevate you over. I think Kansas State's going to be in that group with South Carolina that's right there on the bubble trying to get in. I do not think they are going to get in. I think Arizona State's the better team, and I think with the Big 12 being the one conference that I am willing to say is down relative to themselves this year, I think the champ gets in. I think it's Arizona State. I don't think the Wildcats get in. I think they got a loss in the regular season. I think they get a loss in the conference championship game. And I think the quality of the Big 12 in the enhanced metrics keeps them out. So here's my 12 teams. And then I will ask you, who am I wrong about? Who am I right about? Is anybody too hot takey? Is anybody a lock for you that I left out? I've got 3 teams from what I think is this year, the Big 3. I've got Clemson, Georgia Tech, and Miami out of the ACC. I've got Georgia, Bama, and Texas. No particular order. Georgia, Bama, and Texas out of the Southeastern Conference. I've got Penn State, Ohio State, and Oregon, 3 teams out of the Big 10. I've got 1 team from the Big 12. It is the Arizona State Sun Devils. I've got a group of 5 champion out of the AAC in the Navy midshipmen. And I've got independent Notre Dame going in. There's my 12 playoff teams. Who do I have too high? Who is too low? Who is a hot take? And who is a lock take? 844-326-3663. 844-FAN-FONE. I want your reaction to my 12-team playoff bracket. When we come back, we got your audio blitz. We'll do a little more football. Rashad Beard of the Panther Nation podcast joins us at 8:40 to talk about the Panthers' final preseason game against the Steelers last night. Final segment, final hour, as it always does on Fridays, belongs to you. The Armada Audio Assault to wrap up the show. That is all coming up after this national championship caliber sports flash from Lonzo.
Wow, those 12 sound oddly familiar like last year. Where's the parity, man?
Georgia Tech, baby.
The Southeastern Conference will switch to a 9-game conference schedule next year while requiring all schools to also schedule 1 high-quality opponent from another major conference or Notre Dame. The conference will remain with divisions, and each school will play 3 annual opponents and rotate other opponents yearly. Dallas Cowboy owner Jerry Jones told Michael Irvin yesterday that he had made an agreement with Micah Parsons to make him the highest-paid guaranteed non-quarterback in the NFL, but that Parsons' agent refused to hear the offer. Neither Parsons nor his agent has commented because, they need to comment. The Atlanta Braves will be without third baseman Austin Riley for the remainder of the season. The team announced Riley will have season-ending surgery on an abdominal injury, which has had him on the IR twice so far this season. The Braves didn't offer further details on the injury, but said they expect Riley to be ready for spring training next year. Said abdominal 3 times right. All right, I said it twice right. I'm just projecting that I'm going to do it right in the third hour also. Abdominal is a hard word.
Celebrate Greenville's music scene every Thursday night at Piedmont Natural Gas downtown Alive. Presented by Spectrum. Join us for a free admission outdoor street party featuring live music in Noma Square. Returning this year, Arts After Dark, happening every third Thursday and showcasing local upstate artists in partnership with Metropolitan Arts Council. Piedmont Natural Gas downtown Alive at Noma Square. Thursday evenings, March 13th through August 29th. Visit gvilleevents.com for more info. That's gvilleevents.com.
It is for me. I think everybody has a few words that they struggle with pronouncing, and that's my word. Didn't know that was my word till today, but now I know. I have a really high palate, so there are some words and certain letters that I struggle with. And now that Rob knows that I struggle with that word, he'll make sure that if there's the opportunity to put that word into Sports Flash, that he will do it. And I respect that. It's probably just hard spelling it, Stephen, not necessarily saying it. Here's the thing: autocorrect has ruined the world, because without autocorrect, it would just come down to an argument between you and the person who's saying you're spelling it wrong, unless they had a dictionary handy. I get you can look it up on your phone. But back in the day, you couldn't do that. Back in the day, you could believe you spelled something absolutely correctly, and the other person could not prove, unless you were like in a library or something, that you spelled it wrong. Come on. Come on. I don't think Rob's old enough to remember that. So.
What's that?
So back in the day, before you had phones and you had autocorrect, you could have an argument with someone else about whether you spelled something right or not, and there was no way to prove it wrong unless you were like in a library or something. Unless you carried around a pocket dictionary, which they did have those, and there were people who did that.
I was in, I think, no, I'm 90% sure. I was in middle school when going online became like a regular thing for people. Like it wasn't just a niche thing. Back in the days. So I don't know that I was having a lot of elementary school arguments about spelling words wrong, except when I incorrectly spelled the word oyster and got eliminated from my third grade spelling bee, and my family shunned me for a couple of days, which was, in retrospect, appropriate.
If they still bring it up, they still
they don't. It just developed
okay,
a core
right.
memory for me that I cannot shake. It is painful. The Rob Brown Show back on your radio, the Fan Upstate. Glad to have you. Rashad Beard of the Panther Nation podcast joining us here in about 40 minutes at 9 o'clock this a.m. We take it back to the old school because we're old fools who's so cool. The moving the chains fellas are back. Kevin in the game. Now, which combination of the fellas are going to be here today? I don't know.
Do not tease. Do not tease.
I'm not teasing. I genuinely don't know.
We've never gotten enough Jerruh.
I could not agree with that more.
And so you're going to make people believe that we're going to get some Jerruh today. And if we don't, I mean, Kevin and John, they're okay, but they're not Jerruh.
Nobody's Jerruh.
I mean,
Jerrell's Jerruh. I treat having Jerrell Hendricks on the show the same way you treat Love Night with the lady. It's like, I'm not going in expecting it, but like if it happens, hell yeah, we had a good day. It's like that. We'll see.
I don't know if he'd appreciate that reference. That was
I think he would. He's married. I think he'd get it.
Okay. All right.
We will see which combination of Kevin Thomas, John Epps, and Jerrell Hendricks show up at 9 a.m. when the boys from the Moving the Chains pod make their return. Why? Because, ladies and gentlemen, we got high school football, including the Burns Rebels, back at the crib for the first time in a couple of years. This evening, they made their return to, Ship of Theseus. Is it it's still historic Nixon Field, but like it's a brand new stadium. They got new digs. So is it? It is, but like, is it?
I'm willing to, before the season is over, take a trip over and take in a game just because I want to see what the new press box looks like.
You know what? We might have to take us a little field trip over to Burns.
Because we both know what that old press box was like.
Yeah.
And I want to see the improvements.
I do too. And let's be honest, they only did it for Cole Bryson. That's why they did the press box. Because Cole was like, I can't work in these conditions. And so they built a whole new press box just for Cole Bryson.
That's how it works around here. I'm sure it works that way there too.
Without a doubt. So we may have to do that and just like throw peanut shells in the press box window about every 6 minutes for no good reason.
Oh no, I just want to be in there just like when someone pokes you on the back of the head when you're trying to talk.
No, I don't know what that's like.
Really? You want to find out?
Nope, I also don't want to find out. John, Kevin, Jerrell, all three, 2 of 3. I don't know. We'll find out. Joining us at 9 o'clock, Rashad Beard at 8:40. Now, it is 8 o'clock in the morning, time for the Audio Blitz. Now, we have been stacking and racking audio all week long. I would like to burn through a bunch of these over this segment. I got some takes on the text line that have come in on the show about my 12-team playoff selections. I gave you those. We'll address your text. So here's what I'm going to tell you. Between here and about 8:20, about 16 and a half minutes from right now, I'm going to respond to your text and exclusively your text. We'll do a little textual healing coming up in the next segment of the show. So if you have thoughts, if you have takes on my 12-team playoff selection, Clemson, Georgia Tech, Miami out of the ACC, Georgia, Bama, Texas out of the SEC, Penn State, Ohio State, Oregon out of the Big Ten, Arizona State out of the Big 12, Navy as your Group of 5 representative, and Notre Dame as your independent representative, send them to the Hub City Spartanburger text line right now at 844-326-3663. I will read them and respond to all of them coming up in the next segment of the radio program. Now, let's get to some thoughts. Let's get to some takes. I have said a couple of times already that if the Buffalo Bills don't get it done this year, if they don't make it to the dance this year, then I think it will be, unfortunately and painfully, time for them to blow it up. Either keep Josh Allen and get rid of everybody else, or send Josh Allen on his way so he can go somewhere else and give himself a shot, because it does feel like, and yes, it is because Patrick Mahomes and Lamar Jackson exist, I think Josh Allen's prime is being wasted. One of the best quarterbacks in the NFL today. That being said, September 28th, your boy's trying to decide, am I going to Buffalo or am I not? Tickets ain't cheap. You got to stick that onto a plane ride, the food and drink, because Lord knows I'm not going to a stadium in Buffalo, New York and not throwing back a couple of brewskis. And yes, if given the opportunity, I have landed on, I'm going to go through a table.
If someone would like to sponsor Rob's trip, I'm sure he would be more than willing to talk about your fine product on the air.
10,000%.
It has to go through the proper channels, of course, but
10,000%. We'll see if it works out. Point is, I would go through a table. You know who else would go through a table? Brandon Beane, GM of the Bills.
They're like pulling up to a game. It's a night game, Sunday night football, whatever it is, and you get there, 3-4 o'clock, and you see those fans going crazy. Have you ever felt the urge to go get sprayed with some mustard or hit a table or something like that?
I would love to, but it probably wouldn't. Well, we win the Super Bowl. I'm in there. I'll do it. Like I said,
you'll let him put you through a table.
Oh, dude.
Put him through a table, spray him with mustard.
If we win the Super Bowl, I'm probably getting fired because I'm gonna do some crazy.
I love to hear it.
At the parade, it's like the table's got to be set up. Yeah. Bean goes through the table.
Yeah, you got to be doing a speech, and then when the speech is over, take out a couple of them boys.
I'm in. I expect y'all there, though.
We'll set it up.
I expect y'all there.
We'll be right there.
That was GM of the Buffalo Bills, Brandon Beane on the Bussin' with the Boys podcast saying, if we win the Super Bowl, I am going to do some crazy to celebrate.
Here's the thing. You want to be impressive. I mean, not off the podium. You need to do it off a float. The parade needs to be rolling. There needs to be tables on the side, and you need to go through a table off the float. Those floats don't move that fast.
I think what you do, I think is you go out into the crowd and you let a couple of Bills fans push you through the table. I think you let them do it old school. You take the classic power bomb through the table, maybe a German through the table, the way that Bills fans do it. I think you got, if you're going to do this, and this was kind of the take, and I will acknowledge that I have said, I will take the bump if I'm there. But that being said, I don't think Bills fans put anybody but other Bills through the table. Like, I don't think that's an away fan privilege. I don't think they do. I don't know. We'll find out. All right. Let's keep rolling with it. Let's get some more stuff in here. We talked yesterday about the fact that the Jerry Jones, the owner of the Dallas Cowboys, has said the Dallas Cowboys are a soap opera 365 days a year. That's his words, not mine. And that if there's not some drama going around Dallas, he's not above creating it. To which I've said, cool, I will keep making you a soap opera if you keep not winning Super Bowls. You know who's also really upset about everything? Noted Dallas Cowboys fan Denzel Washington.
Been a Cowboy fan since the 60s, but he ain't thinking about us. He's thinking about his pocket. What does he say? You tell me. What does he say? He's getting rich.
My Cowboys, we're the most successful brand in sports.
You mean in terms of what, championships? There's box office and there's Oscars. Jerry, been a while, huh? You ain't been to the show, you wouldn't know. I haven't been to the show, so you wouldn't know what it is to win. I love the Cowboys because I really love them. This is the way I feel, All money ain't good money, Jerry. Say it again. All money ain't good money, Jerry.
All money ain't good money, Jerry. You lose Denzel, man. Like I want Denzel on the big screen. I want him coming out the games. I want Denzel Washington being the Matthew McConaughey to my Texas Longhorns. I want him being front, center stage every game I can get him there. And right now, I'm getting dragged by Denzel Washington, the equalizer.
You didn't need the music it's Denzel Washington. I mean,
I don't disagree, but it's social media. You throw a trending song in the background, it gets more eyeballs. It sucks, but it's true. I hate social media so much.
I just don't understand So is he saying that Jerry Jones money is dirty money?
No, he's saying what we all know is a fact, which is Jerry Jones cares more about making money than winning Super Bowls. And he's not wrong. He's not wrong.
If that were the case, he's a business owner and he owns a team. If that's what he decides he wants to do, then he should do it.
100%. I think he should do it forever.
And
honestly, I hope Jerry Jones lives forever and never changes his philosophy.
And Mike Parsons is a villain.
Mm-hmm. Bad guy. Total bad guy. I hope he believes that. As a matter of fact, I hope that he is such...
If we find out that he got offered that much money and he said no, that's not.
Look, two sides to every argument. I do not disagree with that. See how that works out, what that means. Hey, the Chicago Cubs were playing the Brewers the other day, and their play-by-play team decided to do a thing that in radio you are warned against because this might happen.
Mentioned somewhat flippantly yesterday that I feel like at least once a game, William Contreras hits a ground ball to shortstop. Now, this would be an ideal time for that to happen.
Indeed.
JD, how about this? If he hits a ground ball to short, start the 6-4-3. Yeah, that's strike. Will you buy Mozzie sticks for everybody at the corner tap?
Absolutely.
Right. We don't know if they have mozzarella sticks at the quarter tap room. The 1-1 outside. I'll go halvesies with you.
Okay.
Yeah. Frelick at second, Collins at first, 1 out. 3-1 Cubs. On the
Come on,
ground.
baby.
Let's go.
Mozzarella sticks for everybody.
Corner tap room, meet up.
I don't know how many people are going to be at the corner tap room that evening, but the play-by-play broadcasters locally for the Chicago Cubs say if Contreras hits into the 6-4-3 double play with a sharp hit ball to short, we'll buy everybody Mozzie sticks, and that's exactly what happened. I mean, I guess good on them for being willing to put it up.
Baseball takes forever, dude. That was like the longest clip, and I'm waiting, and I figured that the thing was going to happen, but there was still baseball in there. And
You know what I love about baseball? A million things, but my favorite thing about baseball is it is a sport that doesn't just allow you to, it demands that you sit and you really take in and enjoy patience and waiting to see the game play out, because every pitch is as important as the pitch before it and the pitch after, unless you're getting your ass kicked. Am I right, Atlanta Braves? Every pitch is as important as the one before it and is as important as the one after it. It is not just a matter of, I got to wait 20 minutes between things happening. No. Something happens every pitch. And if you don't know that, you don't know ball, brother. That's just kind of how it works.
Like
Let me tell you, you don't know ball.
That's the slowest take you've had all day. So you had to do a slow take about baseball because baseball is so slow.
I mean,
where was your energy? Where was it was basically
look. You have energetic moments, like Freddie Freeman stepping to the dish with the bases loaded, down 2 in a playoff game, and going yad with a granny in order to change the tide, win that game. And that's your big, exciting electric moments. But I think we, let's go philosophical for a minute, as a nation have lost our ability to be patient and appreciate the little intricacies of life. This is why I get frustrated when you tune into a highlight show and they're like, here's the 4 touchdowns from this game and nothing else matters. No, it all matters. It all matters a lot. Tom Brady was on Joel Klatt's podcast, and he went full old guy.
Is there something that you really enjoy or don't enjoy about what's going on in the college space right now?
It's a really loaded question. Yep. And I mean, you look at your own personal experience with college football and the blessing that college football was for me. There were so many lessons that I learned in college about competition, about growing up, about responsibility and accountability. That for my entire life, I can look back on and be grateful. I didn't go to 3 different colleges. I didn't when it seemed like I wasn't going to play. Wasn't at college to do anything other than have a great college experience, to go to have camaraderie with my teammates and to compete at a high level. That's really where the focus was. And at a young age, that's where I think the focus needs to be. The commercialization of what's happened in college sports, I wonder whether many kids these days will learn those sustainable traits that I think are invaluable to their life and life experience. Are we doing them a disservice because we're tempting them with, some money in their pocket? Look, I was in college, we had a $400 scholarship check. It seemed like I was rich. It really did. I'm sure most kids felt like that. These kids are such young ages. Their frontal lobes aren't even fully developed yet. And now we're tempting them with real life adult situations and their parents. And now they have agents. Yep. I'm sure it's a very confusing time. And I'm sure a lot of parents are confused. I'm sure a lot of kids are confused. But because we're just talking about money, like that's the only value in college? Is that what we're saying? That's, to me, the priorities are a bit messed up.
So there's Tom Brady.
I'm not going to do what you think I'm going to do. But are they on the gun range?
Yeah,
I mean, that's what I'm like. Where is this thing being done at?
Yeah, again, a lot of these clips that I pulled do come from the social media accounts of where I get them from because it's just easier, right? Like I could go to the pod and pull it out and clean it up and all that, but they just post a lot of their stuff to social media, and it's easier to pull it from there.
You didn't hear a lot of that?
No,
there?
I heard all of it.
It's like, okay, what are they getting ready to rob a bank? What are they doing?
I got no problem with, again, playing the music in the background because the music, you put up something trending on the background, it gets more eyeballs. That's the goal. Get it, got it good. I did wonder, like, what is Tom Brady ready to murder people in college football? Like, is he so mad about kids getting money that he's ready to start shooting people?
I just pictured them both getting ready to do a bank heist, and they're like sitting in the front seat talking.
Advice of a multi-billionaire about how you should live your best life. It's very easy to say money can't buy happiness when you have money. All right? Do what's best for you. Do what's best for you. Let's get one more here. I do see we got a phone call online. I'm going to come to you out of the other side because we're already late, but I do want to get one more thing in here real quick. I've said it a few times. Jeff Passan has now clarified strike or lockout in Major League Baseball next year. Looks like it's becoming more and more, not just a possibility, but potentially a probability.
I think, look, there are relations between the sides that are not great. There is a lack of trust, but there's also room to maneuver if the parties will get together and talk with one another in good faith. The problem is both sides think that the other is not there to bargain in good faith at this point. And so you're going to hear over the next year plus, Greeny, a lot of rhetoric. There's going to be a lot of posturing. But I think at the end of the day, what both need to understand is that baseball's in a pretty good place and that losing games or, heaven forbid, a whole season, because Bryce Harper during that meeting said, we are not afraid if you're going to hold the line on the salary cap to lose 162. They are not afraid to lose a full season. That is a terrifying prospect for everybody involved in baseball and something that I think people who are fans of the game really hope they can get past because we remember 1994, man, and that did damage to the game for a long time, damage that still to fans of the game back then, they remember.
Yeah, I can't agree more. I very much remember that strike / lockout. I very much remember this. To be honest with you, I don't care if it is a strike or a lockout. Here's what I know. What I know is at the time, baseball wasn't playing. What I remember is that at the time, 9-year-old Rob Brown, who loved Major League Baseball, who regularly made my old man drive me 7+ hours north to go see a game in Atlanta, Georgia, because I love baseball and those guys were my bleeping heroes. That was when Brown learned they don't care about baseball. They care about the money. Now, 40-year-old Rob Brown looks and goes, yeah, the owners are kind of b-holes about. I think for the position baseball's in, especially with TV contract negotiations coming up, et cetera, they are in a great spot. And if they hurt themselves, I might be right back where I was in 1995. All right, we got a phone call. We'll get it when we come back. We'll get some reactions to the text line and more. The Rob Brown Show's on your radio. It's the Fan Upstate. All right, guys.
The other question, Eddie Mac, is who's playing Pappas? Who's the Gary Busey in this scenario?
Gary Busey.
Probably he's still around. Yeah.
I'll be right back, guys.
We're still there.
Yeah, I know. I want to.
It was acting up.
Yeah,
it went. Would you like me to try?
No, it's going. It's just thinking for a second. The Hot Rod Brown Show back on your radio. The fan upstate, Rod Brown, the Great Malonzo, and you going to come to the text line responses to my 12 teams that I have selected in my college football playoff hypothetical bracket. We'll get some of your responses on the Spartanburgers text line, 844-326-3663 here in just a moment. However, my man Tony has been kind enough to hold all the way through the break to get his time on the air. We go to Tony now. Tony, welcome to the show, big dog. Good to have you. What's up?
Hey, guys. Great stuff. Excuse my voice, but a couple of things. Baseball. Please quit hating on baseball. Not you. Your co-host just keeps saying it's so slow, but baseball is like American apple pie. I mean, it's just the greatest sport in the world. It might take a little longer, but every player has to think of what's going to happen on the next pitch, where they got to be, what this next hitter is going to, what his tendencies are, what the catcher and the pitcher working together. And it's the only sport that every year, and it's the oldest sport as well in America, that every year 20 to 30 things happen in a year that's never happened in that sport before. That's about that. And I got drafted in 1994 during that strike. So what's a 19-year-old kid going into a strike season? Like, it just blew my mind. I didn't know what to do other than go to my assignment and A-ball with the Blue Jays. It was terrifying. I didn't know what to do, but I don't know all the nuances. But if it's just about a salary cap and Ohtani's making $760 million a year, I mean, how much do these guys want to make? I just don't understand, Rob, and you can probably, if you know more about what they're bargaining about and they can't get together and talk about it, I understand that, and they're not liking each other. Revenue deals are going through the roof. TV deals are going through the roof. But if I own something and you own something, it's yours. You want to make as much money as you can. These guys work for you. They don't get to dictate. Like, I work for somebody now. I don't get to dictate what my salary is. I don't get to say I'm going to not work because I've already made $300 or $400 or $500 million, and I can sit at home and chill for 162 games or a season. I just don't understand it. It may be I played it and totally understand baseball and love it. And like you said, it's slow. Or the other gentleman said it's slow, but you're always thinking about something. Each individual player's got an assignment, got to be somewhere. If the ball goes here, where do I go? It's a thinking man's game, and it has to be. They speeded it up, by the way, tremendously. Yep. I think 30 to 35 minutes a game, so it's fan friendlier now. But if you can just help explain to people what this potential holdout is about, and if it's all about money, the players they make more money probably than per game basketball players do, because you got 12 players and somebody might make $363 million in 4 years, which is almost $1 million a game.
Tony, I don't mean to cut you off. We are rapidly approaching a hard break, and I want to be able to respond to you before we get there. I appreciate the phone call.
I want to respond really quick. Well, I was going to respond while Tony was on the phone, but I wanted to. It's baseball time, so it took me a while to get to my response. You know it was funny, and not remembering my name. That means I could make him remember my name, which is what I normally do, but he seemed really nice, so I'm not going to do that. And I could just talk for 5 more minutes because of baseball time and get us to break, while Rob wants to respond and explain really slowly in baseball terms for everyone who doesn't understand. I don't know what there is that you don't understand about what's going on.
Okay, explain it to us.
They don't want a salary cap, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because salary caps means cap on money.
Mm-hmm.
That means when you reach that cap, you can't make more money than that. So why would you, as a player, want a salary cap?
Mm-hmm.
You understand why the teams want that, because they have to pay more and more money every single year, and they only have so much money. So I mean, I understand both ways, and this strike is going to happen.
So that is absolutely a part of it. That is the biggest sticking point.
By the way, you're the only one I know that can go and it be condescending. I want you to know that. It's a skill that you alone possess.
A lot of practice. Get in the box, take a lot of BP.
Not just with me, but with other people, I'm sure.
Oh yeah, no, for sure. So there's a lot of different elements to this, Tony.
By the way, one more thing. Thank you for calling me a gentleman. But I'm not, because if I was, I wouldn't keep interrupting Rob Brown. The reason why you know Rob Brown's name is because he says it like 35,000 times during a show.
I still got a whole 920 segment.
It's product
I still
placement.
got a whole 920 segment to burn, bud. And I'm not afraid to use it entirely on baseball. All right. So, Tony, I appreciate the phone call. Let me respond to a couple of things here. The first thing that you said was you don't necessarily understand why it's coming to this. Yes, the salary cap is being discussed as the primary reason. And what is being said by the owners is we need a salary cap because if we have to keep increasing pay at the rate that we are increasing it every year, there comes a point where we can't justify it anymore. And the counter argument from the players is twofold. Well, number one, let's look at the Los Angeles Dodgers. They have north of $1 billion in deferred payments to players this year. $1 billion. So what the players are saying,
and what's
here,
a deferred payment? This is the first thing that I think people may not know what that means.
Basically, what it says is we can stretch the way that we pay you, since there is no cap, and we can pay you as much as you want, but so can everybody else. We will stretch how we are paying you your hundreds of millions of dollars well off into the future. So instead of thinking, all right, this guy signed a $100 million deal for 8 years. Maybe he signs $200 million, but he signs it for 15 years or 20 years. Shohei Ohtani is going to be getting paid by the Dodgers until he's legitimately in his late 40s. You've got the Mets with Bobby Bonilla Day in June every year, where for a few more years, they are still handing over Bobby Bonilla a check for whatever, like $4 million annually in deferred payments. So the players are going, there's clearly enough money. The Dodgers are paying $1 billion in deferred payments every year. So why are you going to cap on that? And the secondary reason they're against it is because baseball revenue is going up every year. And so they're saying, wait a minute, you guys are selling teams for more money than they've ever been sold for before. You are about to enter a television contract negotiation period where the league is going to take in billions of dollars. And here's the reality. While you go, yeah, the so-and-so owns the team and they have the right to set the salary. You're not wrong. Here's the thing. How many of you have ever tuned in to watch an owner own or a general manager general manage? You've never done it. You tune in to watch what? To watch the players play. The players are saying, we are not just the product, we're the talent. The reason that people are here is because of us. And you are, if you put a cap on this, going to create a world in which our percentage of the money that Major League Baseball brings in revenue, our percentage of that goes down annually. And we're not good with that because we're the reason people are filling in 20,000 plus seat stadiums and tuning in by the millions to watch. And I think they have a point. We'll talk more about this. Tony, appreciate the phone call. We got to run. I'll respond to some of your text messages about my 12-team playoff and more. But up next, Rashad Beard of the Panther Nation podcast talks a little Panther preseason football next on the Rob Brown Show and the Fan Upstate. All right, dudes, stay right there while we get Rashad set up. We will be right back. Radio Magic time. Let's go. Who the hell cares about baseball? It's football season. I mean, I do, but who the hell cares about baseball? It's football season. And it's football season because for 4 teams, the preseason is over. It is done. It is concluded. It is in the books. One of those teams being your Carolina Panthers. So let's put a nice little bow. Let's wrap up the preseason, and let's do that with the host of the Panther Nation podcast, joining us now as he does every Friday morning at 8:40 a.m. Rashad Beard joining us on the show. Shad, do me a favor and please tell people, because half of them won't listen to me, preseason scores, underline, bold, italicized scores don't matter.
Yeah, it doesn't. It's just at the end of the day, people want to see some productive football, and they want to make sure that the team is out there. They want to see some glimmer of hope, and that I don't think that's what we saw necessarily in the preseason for the Carolina Panthers. We didn't win a game, which is cool. I'm not, wins and losses don't really matter in the preseason, but we just got to make sure that we see some glimmer, and I think we saw a little bit of that last night. First 2 games, you had assistant coaches calling plays, which kind of may have led to some of the not so well executed plays on both sides of the football. Things were turned back over to Canales last night, looked a little different, and Evero defensively, things looked a little different. So that's promising. But you got to make sure you know what you're looking for, right? The preseason, when you're looking for box scores and all that, you're not gonna find what you're looking for. So it is what it is.
All right. So last week I didn't talk and you got on me, so I'm going to make sure I at least ask one question.
Here we go. So
because all right. So one thing I'm excited about is the running back room. I think ATN is a surprise. I already know. I think we all know what you get with Rico Dowdle, but ETN, it looks really good. Are you excited about the stable of running backs?
Yeah, the stable is great. ETN, not only does he look good as a running back, but the return ability was great to see last night as well. So, even in the second preseason game, that the return game is something we have been lacking for a long time. I believe we haven't had a kick return since maybe like Demir Bird or something. It's been a while. It's been a long time since the Carolina Panthers have had an effective return game. So to see him do well in that and not just be able to just field punts and just field kicks and actually return them, that's exciting to see. And like you said, Zoe, he definitely looked good in the run game last night. The lanes were clear. He was very decisive. He put a foot in the dirt. The cuts were clean. He looked good. And I think that is a pleasant surprise. So not only do you have him who can also catch out the backfield, you have Rico Dowdle, who is basically a carbon copy of Chuba, in my opinion. They're basically the same guy, which allows you to not have to call different plays when a different running back is on the field. You can really put defenses under a lot of pressure by having both those guys be able to do the same thing. So it's exciting. The running back room is exciting for sure.
I don't disagree with that, and especially considering, I know Steve Smith said it in the pregame that last night Canales was looking for specifically guys who could contribute on special teams. Said a number of guys that are kind of on the fringe, their contributions to special teams could be what gets them on the roster or not on the roster when it's all said and done. I don't think there was a ton that stuck out last night. There was one big hit that I saw Canales kind of losing his mind over. There was that early big run from ETN. And again, I like ETN. I think his issue at Georgia was he just couldn't keep his head out of trouble. And if he figures that out in Charlotte, I think you may have a bit of a gem there. I would put it as, Rashad, there was nothing about the preseason that elevated my expectations, hope, optimism, excitement about this team, but there wasn't anything that really killed it off either. And I don't want to be a conspiracy theorist, but I do kind of ask, especially considering in games 1 and 2, as far as I know, the main play callers in the regular season weren't necessarily the main play callers. I kind of wonder if maybe this team has enough belief in itself that the preseason was throttled back a little bit, and that's why maybe you didn't see a lot that jumped off the page at you.
I think that's very well said, and I think that is the case. I mean, again, it is very difficult for Panthers fans to hear that because we have been so below mid over the last couple of years. It's been bad around these parts. And so we want to see wins even in the preseason. We want to see our guys playing well even in the preseason. So we don't care about, oh, well, who so-and-so wasn't calling plays. So, that's why we don't care. I'm not going to say we, but the bulk of fans don't really care about that at the end of the day. So, but again, I agree with your assessment there. I do think that things were scaled back. You're giving guys an opportunity to step up and learn how to call plays and develop coaches. It's not just about developing players. It's about developing your coaches. If you got a good stable of coaches, that can also help you as well. So again, I'm not going to say all is lost in the preseason. I agree with you that, I'm not going to say that because the preseason, the season is going to be doom and gloom because we didn't win a game, or I'm not going to say we're going to be great because of the preseason either. I think it was just preseason. And I think there's some things you can take away. If you're looking for doom and gloom, you probably can find something. But if you're looking for some positivity, you can find that too. So I think it's across the board. I think we're going to be okay.
Speaking of doom and gloom, if Andy for some reason is not there, who should be the backup? Bryce Young.
Somebody not on the roster. We sound like we got to get somebody else. Plummer. I think they do like Jack Plummer a lot. They're trying to develop him, but I don't know that he's going to be the backup that I would want to see taking primetime starts. I mean, I don't know about that. The other guy, Bryce Perkins, that we signed, that was cool. It was tough for him. He got signed this week. He doesn't have the system on lock just yet. So it wasn't expecting much from him last night. And, that is what it is. But yeah, probably somebody else. But I think at the end of the day, Andy Dalton's going to be back. He's going to be fine.
I agree with that. I would also make the point, Rashad, and this is not just about Carolina. This is about any NFL team. Any NFL team loses their QB1, they're screwed. All right. Like I don't worry about it. If you get to now, if it's for a game or two, then cool, we can work around that. But if you end up losing QB1 for a season, I don't care if you're the Chiefs, the Eagles, I don't care. You're screwed. So like it matters, but only if you lose BY for a game or two. Anything longer than that, you're bleeped anyway.
Yeah, I agree with that. We want Bryce to stay healthy, stay on the field, and hopefully we don't have to deal with that. But at the end of the day, I think Dalton is going to be back, and I think he'll be fine.
Here's one takeaway I did have about the team, both through the entire preseason, but specifically last night. I don't think there's the offensive line depth that you want there to be. I think you got one of the top 10 offensive lines in the NFL across the starting five, but I think there's a cliff you fall off of if you lose more than one of those guys in any given spot. If there comes a point where wear and tear across the offensive line becomes a problem for this team, it's a problem for this team.
Yeah, I'll push back just a little bit because I do believe Chandler Zavala is a solid backup. I do believe Cade Mays is a solid backup center. So I think that Chandler Zavala can play both left and right guard. The problem was that Chandler Zavala was injured and we didn't get a chance to see him. So had you saw Chandler Zavala as a backup, I think the play would have been a little bit better across the offensive line. But you're right. At the end of the day, there's other guys on that roster that played, and you're like, man, this isn't pretty. This is not good. But a lot of the guys that were supposed to be playing as backups did not play last night, which was pretty ugly. As far as tackle depth goes, yeah, it's a little ugly. You got Brady Christensen, who's a swing guy. Yash Nijman, who's another guy. I don't know if I want him playing a bulk of snaps at left tackle or right tackle. So, yeah, I would agree. The depth is not quite there across the offensive line, but hopefully we won't have to see that, as we should be getting Damian Lewis back. We should be getting Chandler Zavala back. Cade Mays is healthy. I'm confident in Brady Christensen. And outside of that, hopefully we won't have to go that far.
Rashad Beard, host of the Panther Nation podcast, joining us here on the Rob Brown Show and the Fan Upstate. Defense has been the question, the name of the game. You're looking for dudes that are going to step up, that are going to be guys. There are a few that had some big moments last night. I am really excited about a couple of the DBs that had some moves last night. But Rashad Beard, the young man out of Ohio State, was laying some lumber last night out of the defensive backfield. Talk to me about where you think the DB field is for this team this year.
I'm pleasantly surprised with Lathan Ransom. I got to be honest with you.
Internet issues. Perfect timing. Outstanding timing. We'll see if we can get Rashad Lot back in. There we go. I think we got you back. Had a little bump in the connection there, Rashad Beard. Talk to me a little bit about Latham.
Yeah, so Latham Ransom, I thought was a great. He wasn't the guy that I wanted initially, but I think that he's playing a pleasant surprise for Latham Ransom. He, again, very physical, very, very physical. I mean, stepping up to fill the run gaps, great. I mean, he was laying a lot of good hits. Pleasantly surprised with Latham Ransom, man. I know, Zoe, you like that. Ohio State, man. You gotta love the Ohio State guys. You know what I mean? So again, Latham Ransom, very surprising. I think the DB room is much better than, because it's not just him, right? You got the undrafted guy, Corey Thornton, who's having an excellent camp. He's having an excellent camp. So Corey Thornton, I think he could step up in a pinch and play outside corner. Shamar Bartholomew, probably not what we expected when we signed him, but again, I think we're going to be okay. I think we're going to be okay from a DB standpoint.
We are talking to Rashad Beard, host of the Panther Nation podcast here on the Rob Brown Show and the Fan Upstate. Was there anybody else, whether it was last night, Rashad Beard, whether it was over the course of the entire preseason, was there anybody who caught your eye that you think may have an impact this year, whether it's as a depth guy, a special teams guy, or maybe a guy who works their way into the starting 11 on either side of the football? Was there anything, concept, package, technology, whatever, over this preseason that caught your eye that you think Panthers fans will be made aware of in the regular season?
Yeah, nothing like really jumped out too crazy, but I will say when it comes to cut down day, is keep an eye on that wide receiver room, because it's the depth is really good. You got the top guys in XL, T-Mac, Xavier Legette, and you got Coker, my guy. But after that, it gets really intriguing with David Moore, Hunter Renfrow, Jimmy Horn Jr., and Bryson Tremaine, who did not play last night, is very interesting. Bryson Tremaine, a tall, big wide receiver, kind of fits that mold of a T-Mac as well. I don't know if we're going to trying to do this whole Twin Towers thing, but Bryson Tremaine is a guy that has stepped up, had a really good camp according to the streets. And we didn't get to see him last night. He played well in the second preseason game. He's a guy to keep an eye on. I don't know what they're going to do with him, but definitely keep an eye on him, as he could push to make the 53-man roster, maybe make the guys keep 7 and push somebody off, which we all deem as a lock. So he's a guy that I'm watching. Outside of that, man, it's going to be good to get Tommy Tremble back. Tommy Tremble, we haven't seen him all preseason from a tight end standpoint. That tight end depth is not that great. You're only working with Jatavion, Mitchell Evans. So it's good to get Tommy Tremble back. Defensively, man, we got to make sure we're healthy. I know Princely went down a little banged up last night. We got to get Scorton back on the field. So I think we're going to be okay. I think we're going to be okay, man. I'm excited for the guys. I think it's going to be I think we're going to be okay. We're going to be good. We're going to be good.
Yes or no? 30-second answer. Hunter Renfrow making this roster or not?
Short answer, yes. I think they like him. I think the story's good. I think he still has a ways to work up to be the guy to make that impact. But yeah, I think he's going to make the roster.
Rashad Beard, host of the Panther Nation podcast. You can find them on X at Panther Nation PC. More importantly, head on over to YouTube, search, subscribe, follow, turn the bell on, because they were reacting to games live in the preseason. I imagine between here and a couple of weeks when we get the season started, you guys are going to do what? 99, 102 shows, something like that?
Yeah, speaking of which, I'm doing a marathon stream on cut day. I did it last year. I streamed for about 12 hours. Monitoring the cuts. It was live. It was great. So if you're really, really locked in with the Panthers and want to know what's going down on cut day, as we chop this roster down to 53-man, and you want the live updates, the live reaction, tune in on Tuesday, Panther Nation podcast.
I'll swing by. We'll see what's up. We'll see how it goes. Rashad Beard, you legend. Thank you, brother. Talk to you next week, and ever closer to game day, big dog.
Absolutely. We're getting there. Panthers football on the way. Keep pounding.
Love to hear it. Rashad Beard, Panther Nation podcast. Again, find them on YouTube, Panther Nation podcast. When we come back, Kevin, John, Jerruh, 1, 2, 3, who knows? The Moving the Chains boys are coming by. We'll get you all set up for tonight in high school football. And then who knows what happens in the back half of the next hour. You know what happens right now? The greatest sports flash of the week. 0 mistakes from the great Milonzo.
12 hours, man. That's a lot. That really is. Can't wait for that. Southeastern Conference will switch to a 9-game conference schedule next year, while requiring all schools to also schedule one high-quality opponent from another major conference or Notre Dame. The conference will remain with divisions, and each school will play 3 annual opponents and rotate other opponents yearly. Dallas Cowboys owner Jerry Jones told Michael Irvin yesterday that he made an agreement with Micah Parsons to make him the highest paid guaranteed non-quarterback in the NFL, but that Parsons' agent refused to hear the offer. Neither Parsons nor his agent have commented. We'll see if that's true or not. The Atlanta Braves will be without third baseman Austin Riley for the remainder of the season. The team announced Riley will have season-ending surgery on an abdominal injury, which has had him on the IR twice so far this season. The Braves didn't offer further details on the injury, but said they expect Riley to be ready for spring training next year. This shirt, Shane, is the Samoan werewolf, Jacob Fatu. I hadn't bought a wrestling t-shirt in a while, but Jacob Fatu is awesome. I would say his catchphrase, but because of the high palate, I cannot roll my R's, and I'm jealous. And I dislike all people who can roll their R's. So you can roll your R's. I'm sorry, I dislike you because I'm jealous. See? Austin gets it. I can't do it though. I mean, you could do it, and then you sound lame like some other people. I don't want to do that. Like when Joe Test does it, when he tries to do it and he can't roll his R's. I mean, I'd rather if you can't do it right, don't do it. That's all I'm saying. You know who I really dislike? That would be Rob Brown, because he can roll his R's all day. So annoying. I'm guessing it's a talent, but since I can't do it, I can't say for sure. You could possibly be taught how to do it, but I don't think that I can because of my impairment. Also, if I could roll my R's, I'd be going around doing the beginning of John Cena's theme song all the time. Every time I walk into a room, I would do it. You think so? You think it's genetic? I don't know. Kevin's coming up. Kevin, can you roll your R's? They can't see you. He can't roll his R's either. Good.
Fun.
Yeah.
Fun. Sounds like you're in for
I've never installed a transmitter before, so I.
Friday. That's in the final hour.
That, I believe, is victory for me, unless something happens to me in the next hour.
3-0 in the last 3 weeks. He's like the Las Vegas Aces right now, just downing them one after the next after the next. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. The final hour of the day, the final hour of the week, the final day of not football season. We got noon tomorrow, a top 25 matchup. The Kansas State, Iowa State matchup in Dublin, Ireland gets us underway. Then a slate of games the rest of the day that I can't remember off the top of my head. I don't care. I will take second-class college football before I take no college football at all. However, between here and there, we have got high school football kicking off around the upstate of South Carolina, around the entire state of South Carolina, around these great United States. And there's nobody that I would rather bring in to talk a little high school football to get you all set up for the week than the boys of the Moving the Chains pod. They make their triumphant return to the Rob Brown Show now. If you're watching on the stream, you get to see two handsome faces. The one on the left, John Epps in the house. The one on the right, Kevin Thomas in the house. Fellas, it's been a minute. Welcome back. I see branded merch, which means it's go time.
Brother, I can't wait, man. Been a long off season. Cannot wait to see some boys back on the grass tonight.
John?
All right, really quick. I've been holding something in my heart for months now, and I got to do this really quick.
What?
Then I'm going to turn my mic off. All right, several months ago, I was at a pizza place with my daughter, okay? And in walk Kevin and John. Kevin acknowledged me. John big time me. We made eye contact. He was on the phone and just refused to acknowledge me, and it hurt me deeply.
You sure that was me?
Well, I'm absolutely sure because Kevin remembers.
No.
Yes, and I could tell you the name of the pizza place. It was in Simpsonville, but I'm not going to give him a free plug. Anyway, yeah, big time me, and I'm like, wow. I mean, I get he's never seen me in person, so maybe that had something to do with it. But no, eye contact and just like, who are you? And just kind of walked away. I was devastated.
Damn, John,
devastated.
I need to change my ways.
I've always been on your side, man, and just I mean, so the pizza didn't taste as good after that. All right, I'm done.
Ruined his whole lunch, John.
You ruined his whole lunch, John.
Pizza may never taste the same for me either.
You ruined his whole pizza now, Alonzo.
All right, high school football.
High school football. Let's get to it, fellas. This evening, the return of the Burns Rebels. The voice of the Rebels, Cole Bryson, will be on Wire to Wire today before they flip it on over to their first game. Back at the crib, John Epps. They got all new outfits. I'm relatively sure it's because Cole Bryson said, give me an updated press box or I'm TF up out of here. So Burns just went ahead and redid the whole stadium for Cole Bryson. I think they proposed naming it for him, but he said, no, my ego's not that big, not quite that big. So they're going to stick with historic Nixon. Let's talk a little Burns round one, John Epps.
Yeah, this was a Burns team that was put in a tough situation last year, playing every game on the road as that new Nixon field got put together. So it's a little bit of a homecoming for the Rebels. You get to play in front of your own fans. There's going to be a ton of excitement. Burns does it right for big-time games. I expect an awesome atmosphere over there at the new Nixon field. Can't wait to see how it looks. Can't wait to see how this Burns team looks. They were a little up and down last year. Really righted the ship toward the end of the season. They've got a lot of players, good experience coming back. Segura is one name that comes to mind. Hopefully he's going to be healthy all year. And then on the other side, you got TL Hanna that's just a stalwart, always tough, a tough offense to prepare for. But Burns has had all offseason prepare for that triple option of the Yellow Jackets. I think Burns is going to carry the hometown excitement, momentum, and win a really close game to break in Nixon Field. I mean, you got to be able to break in Nixon Field with the W, right?
I mean, you'd like to think. Do me a favor, since we are obviously the home of Burns Rebels football here on the Fan Upstate. Give me a little bit of a deeper thought on what this team maybe not went through last year, but what they carry from it this year? You mentioned you got some guys coming back with XP. I also know over the last couple of years, they have had a lot of guys that have transferred in, a lot of guys that have transferred out. I know Reggie Shaw's got his work cut out for him this year. Talk to me maybe a little bit more in depth about some of the things that you expect this team to take from last year into this year, some of the lessons learned, and what some of those XP guys that may make a bigger difference this year, who they are.
Well, I think Segura for sure. I feel like he's been with this program for 6 years. And then I think the big thing just from a mentality standpoint for this Rebel team is last year, nothing was comfortable. You came off a really tough year from the year before, and it was not up to Burn standards. You got put in a really tough situation playing all road games. I think this year you're going to see a more comfortable team. You're going to see a more confident team, and I think that's going to really go a long way. This team, they perked up toward the end of the year, made it to the second round of the playoffs, got knocked off by a really hot Spartanburg team. But they had some good wins. They played Gaffney right down to the wire as well. They played Irma really, really close early in the year. TL Han really close in the year. Things just didn't go their way. I think this year it's going to be a little bit different. I think the games that didn't go their way, I think are going to go their way this year. And I think it starts tonight. I think that it's a big mentality standpoint for the Rebels. I think they're going to be more comfortable, more confident, and just really cohesive as a unit this year.
Kevin Thomas Clinton.
Don't you do it, Rob Brown.
Clinton at Woodruff.
Man,
Wait. Sorry. Clinton or Clinton, Kevin Thomas. I know we do it every year. I'm going to give you a chance to.
Clinton.
I've seen the sign, dude. There's a T in it.
Just telling you what they say, man. I don't know what to make of it.
PC is right there. PC is in Clinton, and I'm sure they teach T's at PC. I'm just saying.
Either way, that's a big game tonight. I'm probably going to be heading that way. You've got your defending 2A state champs, the Clinton Red Devils, taking on a 3A team in Woodruff that has got a lot of talent back. Those teams, expecting big things this season, but it's going to come down to who can step up because we know some of the big names. You look at Clinton, you got Javen Cook back at running back. You got Chris Boyd back on defense. Trey Aiken back up front. He's an NC State commit for them. Woodruff, you get Aiden Gibson, a junior running back who's an absolute freak. He's back. You get a tight end, Cam Taylor, who's a monster, a Liberty commit there. You get Corey Moats out wide, Sean Graybill on defense. But both teams have new quarterbacks. So we'll see which one can step up, can make better plays for the Wolverines or the Red Devils. I like Clinton's squad a lot this year. I think they're going to make another deep run. But I think over at Varner Field or Varner Stadium at Woodruff, I think the new quarterback plays a little bit better at home than the guy going on the road. So I'm going to take Woodruff in a close one tonight over in Spartanburg County.
I like it. John Epps, back to you as the Spartanburg Vikings get ready to break it up with Northwestern tonight.
Yeah, Spartanburg will invite the Division II 5A state champions into the building tonight. A Northwestern team that has lost a lot of talent from the team last year, but they do return Texas A&M commit to Marion Watkins. Spartanburg, in their own right, I think a little under the radar. This team only lost to Dutch Fork and Gaffney at the reservation last year. I think this is a big turning point for the Spartanburg program this year. If they can get a W tonight against the defending state champs, that's going to be a big, big deal for the Vikings moving forward. But it's going to be a tall task. I like Northwestern in a close game, but I think we see Spartanburg play very competitively and have a really good year this year.
John, Richard Pops in the chat said, do y'all know if Spartanburg's quarterback is out tonight? And if so, who gets the start? Do we have anything on that?
I believe he's going to play. Have not had that confirmed, but Trey Burke, the ECU commit, I believe is going to be in action tonight.
I like it. All right, let's Kevin, let's stay right here. Dorman at Greenville.
Dorman's an intriguing team. They really felt like they kind of came on strong the end of last year. They've got safety Contavian Anderson, a Clemson commit. He's back on the back end of that secondary for them. You got Nick Means back at the running back spot, a transfer at quarterback Demetrius Slidell. They're expecting big things from this group for Coach Morris here. I think it's year 3 for him. On the Greenville side, a lot of unknown there, a lot of turnover the last couple of years, a lot of talent coming out, graduating and transferring out. Now you got Scoot Watson stepping in as the head coach. Interesting story here, Rob, for them. The Greenville basketball team just won state championship. Franklin Whitley, a 6'6" kind of forward there, a key piece of that. Never played football before, decides to come out and play basketball. Decides to come out and play football. This offseason has already got a Georgia offer, has not played a snap yet. So they're saying he is a freak at the defensive end position. Cannot wait to see him on the field this year for Greenville. I think they got a lot of pieces to replace. They're going to have to find some offensive firepower, especially. I think Dorman wins this game, but Franklin Whitley for Greenville, a guy to keep an eye on for sure.
I mean, I guess you got to ask the question, though, like, do you trust Kirby Smart to evaluate talent? You know what I mean? Like, I got questions about Kirby Smart's ability to find guys.
Yeah, I mean, the proof, I just haven't seen it. I don't know.
Kevin and John from Moving the Chains running through some of the high school games. All right, we got a few more to burn through here in the next few minutes, fellas, and I will let y'all take them where you want to go. Daniel at Chapman.
Yeah, Daniel and Chapman, that's an intriguing matchup. Daniel, always a strong program. A little bit of turnover at the head coaching position in the offseason. Chapman, a really tough place to play. But I think Daniel just has more talent than the Panthers do. It should be a fun game to be at. I'm sure it'll be a packed stadium, great environment. If you haven't been to a game in Chapman, you should go. And tonight would be a great night to do it, to see a good Daniel team as well. I think Daniel wins this one.
All right, let's take a look at another one. Abbeville at Southside Christian.
Abbeville always a front runner in whatever class they're in this year. They're down in 1A, a favorite to win state again as they did last year. Southside Christian, though, they have a lot of, I guess, hype in the program right now. Coach Jonathan Guest comes over from Georgia, a 7-time state champ, coming to take over with the Sabres there. I think Abbeville a little too much tonight, though. I think the Panthers win on the road.
Malden at Riverside.
This is a Malden program that's been trying to get their feet under them the last few years. And on the other side, Riverside has had some positive movement, some really good offensive play for Riverside. I think Riverside gets off on the right foot tonight. I think they win big.
BHP at Broome.
Two teams we don't know a lot about. BHP last year, upper state champs. They lose their star running back, who was a generational talent. Who's going to fill that void? I like Tajay Watson-Martin a lot. I like Jakiri Anderson a lot. But we just don't know who's going to take up all those touchdowns and yards they're losing. Broome, on the other hand, they're moving their 1,000-yard back to receiver, moving a receiver to running backs. I don't know what they're doing on that side either. I think BHP wins this football game, but two teams that we just don't know a lot about yet, Rob.
All right, let's head over to my neck of the woods. Let's go with TR at Wade Hampton.
Travelers Rest, Wade Hampton, these are two programs that are going to be very hungry for a win. I think Travelers Rest a little bit ahead of the Generals right now. I expect them to go on the road and get this win. But this is a game for Wade Hampton. Hey, they come out and play well. They got a chance to win this one.
Seneca at Powdersville.
I'm high on Powdersville. I think their quarterback, Kagan Reed, is like a 6'4", 6'5" kid, really big, really stands tall in the pocket there. Defense is always hungry for Coach Nimmer's bunch. I think if they can control Seneca's running game, they'll win this football game.
Boiling Springs at Greer.
This is an interesting matchup. Boiling Springs has had a really good last couple years. Greer's the team that you don't want to play because they're not great, but they're good enough to beat you. And if they knock off Boiling Springs, that's going to be a little bit of a black eye for the Bulldogs. I think we see a pretty good competitive game, but I like Boiling Springs to win this one.
Midland Valley at JL Man to wrap it up.
JL Man, another program with a lot of new faces there. Head coach Bryce Smiley comes over. He was the DC at Gaffney. A lot of new faces on that team there. We don't really know what they're going to have on offense. They've got some good pieces like Luke Penland, Jordan Turner Butler. We just don't know how it's all going to gel together. Midland Valley, a team kind of out of the Aiken area, Graniteville to be exact, coming up. I like what they're doing with Coach Doran there, but that's a fun matchup. I think we'll see a lot more about these teams after tonight and know which way they're going to head.
Fellas, since it is high school football season, since it's the first time we have had the Moving the Chains boys back in the fold, hot takes, predictions, projections, prognostications, anything that you guys have, pimp the show a little bit, give people a little tasty taste, the reason to come by and check out the Moving the Chains pod. What do you got for us to get the 2025 season underway?
I tell you what, the reason I think people should watch our show and get involved is our pick'em. Every week we do a pick'em of, I believe, Kevin, we do 10, 11 ball games. We keep track all year. The winner gets a prize. It is very, very fun, very, very competitive. And we do it during the playoffs too. We talk about it during the show. I know we've got people listening to this show that know their high school football. Come, hop in the show, join the pick'em, and see how you stack up with everybody else.
Yeah, every Tuesday, 7:30 or 7:15, we do our live preview show. Come join us on Facebook and YouTube. Talk some ball with us, man. It's a lot of fun kind of going back and forth to the fans. So join us at 7:15 on Tuesdays for that. But Rob, a little prop bet for you. I know gambling is frowned upon here. Talk to the Burns guys this offseason. I said, who's going to score the first touchdown at the new Nixon Field? Trey Segura said it was him. So just keep an eye on that tonight as we get rolling over there in Duncan.
I like it. I like the comment. That kid's got like high school Saquon Barkley. Is that fair?
I like it. If he can just stay healthy, man, it'd be a big year for him and the Rebels.
Yeah, it's kind of one of those spots. Like I know he does. Like he plays soccer. He's doing like 50 other things too, which good. Like I'm a big believer in. I don't feel like we need to get to a spot where we have kids that are like, you're only this, you're only baseball. Like let kids do their thing. At the same time, I'm sure Reggie Shaw would love if he would just do football.
Yeah. Keep a little fresher for the season. Just let's just work out all off season and be ready to roll for the fall.
I like it. Kevin and John, the fellas from the Moving the Chains pod, have rolled up. You can find them across all the platforms. Just search for Moving Chains. You will find them everywhere. Make sure you follow them on Facebook so you can jump in on those live broadcasts. Fellas, it's good to have you back. We'll talk to you next Friday and get everybody set up for another week.
Sounds great. Appreciate you, Rob.
Anytime. Kevin and John from the Moving the Chains pod. We got to run to a break. We're back after this. We're talking a little more college football on the other side. Y'all, we are just a tick over 24 hours away from a game starting us off in Dublin, Ireland tomorrow. We'll take a look at the weekend slate. We'll give you some picks, predictions, prognostications. I'll run you through my 12-team playoff bracket one more time so you can all continue to call me an idiot even though I'm right. That's coming up on the Rob Brown Show on the Fan Upstate. Nice job, fellas. It's like I taught you well.
Thank you, Rob. Appreciate you, buddy, as always.
Did you pick up a new mic? It sounds good, man.
Mine does?
Yeah.
Should be the same one.
Okay.
John's got a new one.
I got a new one.
What are we working with there, Johnny boy?
Same equipment that Kev's got.
Nice.
Sennheiser.
Nice.
Yep.
Nice. Keep in mind, when the boys make it big, I get 2% as engineering fee.
Of course. In perpetuity.
I rocked the I rocked the hat the other day. It's the Moving the Chains hat has become my go-to black shirt matching cap.
Let's go.
Look,
oh,
so
nice.
the boys are getting some love from the Rob Brown Show.
Appreciate
I love
that,
it.
man. Appreciate that.
Of course. Why wouldn't I? Fellas, enjoy the games tonight. Enjoy being back, man.
We'll do it, man. Talk to you next week.
Thanks, Rob. Good talking to you.
Hey, fellas. Y'all
Hey,
be
buddy.
good.
See ya.
Thanks to Rashad Beard of the Panther Nation podcast for pulling by. Thanks to John Epps and Kevin Thomas from the Moving the Chains podcast for swinging by to talk us a little high school week 1 football. Glad to have the boys back.
Clem people on the stream, you're not going to convince me that there's no T in your name. I mean, that's just not. And I'm glad. You may think there are a few things that Rob and I are in solidarity on. There's more than you know.
There's 5.
Yeah, but we're definitely on this.
This is absolutely one of them. Listen, pass a city resolution. All right, take a hammer and a chisel, go to the sign out front of your town, knock the T off. All right, that's all you got to do. If the name of the town was Clinon, we'd all be like, it's Clinton.
I was once
I'm good with that.
One of the voices of Presbyterian College Blue Hose football, and spent a lot of time in Clinton, and it's Clinton. It's not Clinton.
You know what the name of that school is? It's Presbyterian, not Presbyterian.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? There's a T in there, and y'all use it.
Although I heard on the broadcast over the weekend someone saying President Poohin. So maybe.
Okay, but there's a reason they said that.
Yeah,
Let's be honest.
No. This was
the briefcase, man.
No, this was a news. This was a news. It's Fox News doing the report at the top of the hour, and I'm like, okay. So there are
new every day.
The youths of today have trouble with like Cam Newton. They have trouble with T's, and I don't know what it is. I mean, I don't get it. So it may not be just a Clinton thing. It may be just youngins.
I don't know. Take the T off your sign. I'll call you Clinton. It's real simple.
There we go.
All right, a couple of texts that have come in. Do a little textual healing real quick. Pick up some of the text messages that we have, or if you're in Clinton, X messages that we have gone through so far. I gave you earlier in the show my 12 teams I think make the college football playoff. And obviously, this is a prediction. And much like March Madness brackets, there's about a 0.00001% chance that I nail the 12. But you got to predict them anyway. That's what you do when you're in this game. Here's what I went with. Shocking to even myself. Once I took all of the varied opinions and projections I have made across the landscape of college football, and then tried to incorporate all of them into my playoff bracket predictions, I ended up in a spot where what I believe are big 3 conferences this year, because I do think, as I've mentioned a number of times, I think the ACC is going to be better than it's given credit for. I'm not arguing it is going to be the best conference in college football. It is going to be far from it. I do think it is going to be dramatically better than a lot of naysayers and doom and gloomers are making it sound. I have gone with 3 teams from each of the big 3. I am going with ACC conference champion, the Clemson Tigers, to be joined by the team I think will be the shock of the season to everybody that is not a listener of this show, the Georgia Tech Ramblin' Wreck. The Yellow Jackets play Clemson in the ACC title game. I think they're 10-2, 10-3 when it's over, and that's good enough to get them in. I also think the Miami Hurricanes backdoor their way in. I think they'll drop one dumb one somewhere that keeps them locked out of the title game, but will be 10-2, and it will get them in. Out of the Southeastern Conference, I have got the Georgia Bulldogs as your SEC conference champion. 2 teams joining them from the SEC. I've got the Alabama Crimson Tide, I am a believer, and the Texas Longhorns. I think Georgia will beat Texas in the ACC championship. I think Alabama will use the combination of brand awareness and SEC bonus points to get themselves in. Out of the Big Ten, I am taking Big Ten Conference champion, the Penn State Nittany Lions. I think Ohio State will play that team in the Big Ten championship game, and I think they will be joined by the Oregon Ducks. I think Oregon will be a team that is on the bubble fighting their way in, but I think being the number 1 overall seed last year, I think having the brand awareness that they have, and I think playing out of a conference that has 4 playoff caliber teams, though I do think Michigan will be popped off the bubble, will be enough to get Oregon in. I think there is just one team going out of the Big 12, and it is your Big 12 conference champions. I have the Arizona State Sun Devils. I love their head coach. I love their quarterback. And of all the teams that are in a spot where one guy, much like Ashton Janty did for Boise State last year, can get them in, I think their quarterback, Sam Leavitt, has the most help around him to make that happen. Out of the group of 5, give me the Navy midshipmen. Remember, Navy and Army last year both had a run that resulted in both of them ending up inside of the top 25. Welp, Navy ended up getting the better of Army in that run. And on top of that, they have got a cat who is going to be running that offense this year that I really want you to keep an eye on. His name is Blake Horvath. Blake Horvath is a college football name that the hardcores know, the sickos know, because this dude did some stuff for the midshipmen last year that was incredible. I think he'll be back and even better this year. I think he will carry them to an AAC conference championship, and I think there's a very good chance with maybe a ranked win in there, especially if they can, and I don't think they can. But if they could get a win over a Notre Dame, if they could pull an upset on the legs of Blake Horvath, I think Navy can find their way in. I got Navy in, and I do have as my final team, although these are not in any particular order, I do think the Notre Dame Fighting Irish are in. The bad news is they start out of the gate with a roadie down to Miami and then a home game against the Colt Texas A&M. The good news is they start with a road game at Miami and a home game against the Colt in Texas A&M, which means even if the Irish were to go 0-2 in those games, those are, with 2 top 20 teams, enhanced metric quality wins. And then they have 10 games to go 10-0. They would have to go 10-0 down the stretch, but 10 games to go 10-0 to rebound from those 2 losses, which I do not think they are losing both of them. But they will have 10 games to go 10-0, finish 10-2, and get their way back in. And if there is a single team that has brand awareness, if there is a single team that can get in because of the lack of logo on the side of the helmet, it's the Notre Dame Fighting Irish. So there's my 12 teams. Clemson, Georgia Tech, Miami in the ACC, Georgia, Bama, Texas in the SEC, Penn State, Ohio State, Oregon in the Big 10, Arizona State from the Big 12, Navy from the Group in 5, and Notre Dame as your independent, all getting into the playoffs. All of that being said, let's take a look at some of the many texts y'all have sent so far this morning to the Hub City Spartanburger text line at 844-326-3663. If you send your text, by the time I get to the end of the stacked up text, I will read it on the air as well. Texter said, Steve Smith was tragic. He kept talking over everyone, never knew when to talk or when not to talk. It was awkward. Steve Smith Jr., of course, the Panther legend, doing the pregame show along with Jake Delhomme and Anish Shroff, buddy of the show, Anish Shroff, last night. I thought there were moments that Steve Smith was spectacular and hilarious and entertaining. I will say I think Steve Smith should, from this point forward, probably be relegated to pre- and post-game. I don't think he added a lot in the game, unfortunately. That being said,
or doing that thing where they have him go do other jobs so he can see what they're like doing sideline and doing referee. I forget what was NFL Network, I think, had him doing all that stuff. Yeah.
I'll be fine with that. I think he was a fantastic idea for some features, whatever, but live broadcasting, probably not the forte. Texas says, if Cade goes down, Clemson probably misses out on the playoffs. If Seller goes down, South Carolina doesn't even make a bowl game. I got to tell you, as high as I am on Sellers, as high as I am on the Gamecocks, I can't really kick that opinion around that much. I can't really hate on that opinion. Honestly, that might not be all that incorrect on both counts. John Dog said, Georgia, give me a first-round game. Yeah, I agree. I'm in that spot. It's Playoff games with a bye were not great for every team not great for any team last year. Let's see here. Dewey said, I want to say you're wrong about the Gamecocks, but I unfortunately have to agree with you. They will not live up to the hype. I disagree with that. For me, the hype isn't playoff team. They're like potential bubble, maybe trying to grab the 12 team if they are a shock. I just think 9-3 is the roof. And I think there will be 2 or other 3 bigger names in the SEC at 9-3 that will bump them out. Texture said, Rob, you're smoking. If you think a 10-2 Georgia Tech team gets over a 10-2 Michigan team, the Big Ten gets 4 teams in before the ACC gets 3. Here's the thing. I don't think Michigan is 10-2 this year.
I was going to say, if Michigan is 10-2 in Georgia Tech, Michigan's going in.
I agree with that.
Yeah, for sure.
I just don't think Michigan's 10-2. I think there's enough going on with that team and enough of a reset in talent that there's a step back.
Yeah,
this
I
year.
hope they lose every single game, especially the last one.
Texas said, Spartanburg J. Texas Show said, number one hot take, I am hesitant to buy merch at a baseball game I am attending, especially at baseball. If the team you pull for loses when you buy the jersey or the cap, that merch is now bad luck. If you can still wear that match, you can still wear that merch if the majority of the fans in the stadium or elsewhere bought their merch during a win. It outweighs the bad luck merchandise. Thoughts? Dan the Superfan Man.
Overthinking.
I am not superstitious. I am a little stitious, said the great Michael Scott. I absolutely have lucky clothing. When I lose, it goes in the washer.
But lucky
it does
for
not.
what? Lucky for what? What's your lucky clothing do? If it gets you some happy time, that's lucky clothing. If you think it makes your team win or lose, it doesn't.
Listen, 2 things. Number one, there's a difference between lucky clothing and get lucky clothing. I also have get lucky clothing. All right, but the luck clothing. Listen. You are absolutely taking the logical, rational, realistic stance to all this.
Yeah, I'm taking the scientific, the stance that you normally take.
100%. And as I said earlier in the week, sports aren't real. It's not we don't live in the real world when we're loving our sports. All right, that's it. Dewey said, if baseball strikes, I will never watch it again. And Rob Brown, you are rude. I mean, sometimes. Not all the time. Not even most of the time.
Are there nice people on the radio? Where are they?
I think I am very nice. I just think sometimes people are wrong, and I need to let them know that.
There you go. Yeah, that was a nice way of saying that for sure.
Wrapping up the Rob Brown Show next on the Fan Upstate.
All right, Zach, I've been racking my brain on this, and I'm going to go 13 years ago. So my son may hate for me to say this, but he's 31 now. And it was when it just happened that when he went to PC that I got an offer to go to PC and do the pregame show with my broadcast partner at the time, Matt Tomlinson, who for over a decade, we did a sports show on WORD. And one of the guys that used to work with us, he took over all the PC stuff and offered for us to come over there and do that. And so we did, and we had to do the pregame show. And I believe it was the year when PC moved up. We had to do it outside while the stinking train went around us the entire time. I mean, it was interesting. Close to the kilted statue as you're going into the stadium. We did our pregame show out there. We did it for one season. We were up for a second season. We even asked for more money and got it. And then boss at the time at WORD decided to schedule us doing our other show right at the time would have been pregame, and we had to make a choice. And so I had to go with a long-term job over more money for brief points of time. I mean, it was fun because Matt was scared to death of Clinton. So we drove into Clinton for the first time, and there was a man on the side of the road collecting rocks and just like placing them on the side of the road, and it freaked Matt out pretty good. He was and probably still is a little bit sheltered. So. And then everyone thought that, oh yeah, you're just following to check up on your son. It just happened to work out that the guy who worked here took the job at the same exact time. And so I get it that my son's friends probably thought that I was following him, but it was just complete coincidence. And yes, and the first few shows we did, we were not allowed to be sarcastic. We were not allowed to be funny. And finally we went to the guy who was the boss over, was like, listen, man, we can't do this. It's not us. We can't be. And today we do believe that that the Blue Hose are going to win. And and then gloves came off. I was like, he said, you can make fun of the other team. You can make fun of the mascot and everything. And it was fun the rest of the time after that. Well, the rumor was that Cena wanted him to come back, and Cena immediately said on the mic that, why would I ask him? I forget his exact words, but he said, why would I ask him to come back? Which means I think exactly that's why he's back, because Cena wants to wrestle him. There's an unfinished story there from a long time ago, and it's also interesting. And by the way, they ain't wrestled yet. We don't know for sure. Maybe he's his final opponent. I don't know. His final opponent could be Rob Brown. Could be. He's not denying it. You see, straight-faced, not giving anything away.
Abrupt, sudden. Yeah, just like me.
I'm not liking the new. Doesn't it sound tinny to you? I mean, it sounds.
Yeah, now that you pointed out, it definitely
so
does.
That and I have trouble with that, and I don't like the sound of the water cooler.
That one I got nothing for.
Yeah, it's like the bass has gone out of it.
But on this show, we respect Rebecca Black. On this show,
we do, but we want her in full effect. We were somewhere eating the other day, and I know where we were. It was last Saturday. We were doing a pre-show meal and eating, and that song, the full song, came on where we were eating. It was a taco place that you've been with decor on the wall down the road. I don't want to, that we've all went there together, and it came on, and it was like, you realize how bad that song really is. That is a really bad song, and shout out to her for getting all she got out of that really bad song.
Shout out to, if I recall correctly, the Nepo baby status of an old man with connections in the record industry who got her that song.
Yeah, isn't that kind of the story historically, though? I mean, I mean,
honestly, if you want to keep it a buck, Taylor Swift is a Nepo baby, technically speaking. Old man had producer credit that he was able to get her stuff. She just then segued it into maybe the biggest musical career in history.
That has become such a bad thing, such a bad word, Nepo. And back in the, you know what? I don't care if you coattail. I don't care whose name you have to drop to put yourself ahead. What's wrong with that?
I think it's just a matter of like, are you good at the thing or not? Right? Like that. Like Ian Eagle is a perfect response, right? Like his son Noah has gotten into it. Noah Eagle's damn good on a microphone during games. Like he is good at it. There are some cats like Harry Carey's kids, with all due respect to Harry Carey and his kids aren't good. Like they're just not good at it.
By the way, I'm not sure what language that is on the stream, but it's probably I don't know.
I got nothing.
Yeah, I don't know either.
I think the whole Nepo baby.
So
thing
would you have a problem if you got, and I believe I know the answer, if you got a job because someone knew your dad? I mean,
look,
in the end, you still
have
have to prove yourself once you get that job.
That's what I'm saying. Like, I think it is really a matter of some people are going to get hurt, upset, offended, whatever you want to call it by. And I understand it. This is not me bashing these people. I get it because I have lost a radio job that I really wanted before because a programming director put the son of a station exec in that role. And I don't do this a lot, but I listen to that guy's show and I'm like, I'm better than this guy. Like, I am better than this guy. Most guys, I don't listen and go, I'm better than this guy.
I was going to say, how many shows do you listen to and go, oh man, that guy's better than me?
A lot. Like, honestly, it's one of the few jokes that I make about myself that's not really a joke is that sincerely, I think I'm okay. I'm going to keep doing it as long as people are going to keep giving me money to do it, but I don't think I'm great.
If I say I like my voice over yours, your voice is really bad.
Yeah, that's pretty much it for me. All right, we got a few things I want to get in here before we wrap up the radio program today. We have talked quite a bit of college football on the show today. I have given you my playoff bracket preseason top 12. Obviously, we will update it and adapt it as the season rolls on, with the college football season getting started in earnest tomorrow at noon with Iowa State and Kansas State in Dublin, Ireland. But really it is next week where we get everything in full swing. I did get asked a few minutes ago on one of the social media networks. I forget which one the message came from, but a listener asked me the question, what is it that makes me high on some teams and not others, and gave me a couple of examples. For instance, he utilized Alabama. He's like, you've pointed out that a lot of teams inside the top 25 that are being considered by many to be playoff teams, you yourself, Rob Brown, have brought up the narrative that there are quarterback questions everywhere. There are very few proven commodities at quarterback this year. So with that being a narrative that you have leaned on this season, when you look at Alabama, they have one of the biggest quarterback questions, which is Ty Simpson. What is Ty Simpson? Is Ty Simpson a good quarterback, a bad quarterback? And one of the answer I gave was, for a lot of these teams, what I am looking at is questions versus answers. What questions do I have about the team? And what answers do I believe we have about the team? Yes, I have a question about Ty Simpson. I think a lot of people do, and I don't think it is unfair to feel that way. But I would also make the point, I think, that Kalen DeBoer at Alabama, if for no other reason than utilizing the script A, Kalen DeBoer at Alabama could realistically have gotten just about anybody that he wanted out of the portal. And there were a number of names, with a few exceptions, that I think were only going to end up in certain places. Carson Beck was only ever going to end up at Miami. It was a result of both a $4 million NIL deal and his, at the time, lady friend down at Miami playing shooty hoops. But there were a lot of other names like his week one opponent, Thomas Castellanos, now at Florida State. I think he could have had just about anybody. Kalen DeBoer doubled and tripled down on Ty Simpson. Now, that does not tell me that Ty Simpson is going to be a good quarterback for Alabama, but it does tell me that Kalen DeBoer thinks he is going to be a good quarterback at Alabama. And if that's the case, I'm going to say I think the guy can probably play. I'm going to say I think the guy can probably go. So I feel like, while I do not have an answer to that question, I feel like I have at least a spot that I can go, there's a lot of faith in this guy. There's a lot of belief in this guy, because Kalen DeBoer did not go into the portal to try to find an immediate replacement specifically for a team that believes it is a playoff team this year in Alabama. That's good enough for me to say I got a little bit of faith there, unlike some other squads. Lonzo has pointed out a number of times. Ryan Day did not name QB1 until 2 days ago? Julian Sayin got the nod. Now, I have also said a few times, I don't think it was ever anybody but Julian Sayin. I think this was probably Ryan Day kind of trying to keep Julian Sayin down on earth, keep his backup quarterback, optimistic that, hey, man, like, you're right there in his back pocket. Therefore, a couple of bad games from this kid, and you might get your shot to be a starter. I don't know. But I feel like I don't have a ton of questions. When I look at Clemson, I do not have a lot of questions about this football team. There's a few. The run game is obviously one of them, but I don't have a lot of questions at a lot of other spots. Front seven, best in football. Defensive backfield, I think is going to be underappreciated. Quarterback, I think Cade Klubnik's on his way to a Heisman Trophy finalist nod, etc. I don't have a lot of questions. Georgia Tech, quarterback's not a question at Georgia Tech. Running back's not a question. Offensive, defensive lines, not a question. Head coach, not a question. A lot of these other teams, I have questions about those spots, not the wreck. That's why I was willing to put them in a playoff spot. There are a lot of teams, and we will ask a lot of these questions next week. In fact, on my social media, at The Rob Brown Show, cross-posted to the Fan Upstate on social media, I am doing a series right now called 3 Big Questions, where of all of the contenders, I am asking, what are the big 3 questions they have to answer in order to be a playoff team or a national championship contender? And there are a few that I acknowledge in the series. I had a hard time coming up with 3 questions for this team. Clemson is one of them. These are the teams that I feel like I have the fewest questions in the fewest spots about them. That's how I arrived at the 12 I arrived at.
And now, the Rob Brown Show presents Twitter.
Yeah, but still, you were no.
What do you mean no?
Yeah, no, it counts.
Okay, it's a tie.
It's not a tie.
It is. I was up 1.
Yeah, like 3.
Or you were down 1.
No.
Yeah, and on Monday, you had 2 in the first hour.
I don't recall.
I very do.
Okay, it's a tie.
It's
Fine.
a tie. I didn't lose.
Yeah, you did.
Lonzo 28 to 3'd himself.
Yeah, okay. No, I didn't. That would be if I lost.
All right, that's
if it's a tie. What I was going to say is I'm hoping that Julian Sayin is a star, because then maybe we get a crossover Dragon Ball Z T-shirt, Ohio State T-shirt, Super Saiyan. And I'm waiting for that.
Oh, somebody's already made
Oh,
that.
come on, dude.
The question is, do you have the stones to buy it?
Yeah. I wear Dragon Ball Z T-shirts all the time with the buck.
Yeah, but has he earned the title
Right.
Super Saiyan?
That's why I said I hope he plays well enough for that to happen. All right, the first thing it's X in the Circuit City.
Circuit City. I got no idea why it's Xing. I haven't heard the words Circuit City stuck Circuit City stuck together, and I do not know how long.
Circus City, I think, is in Wyoming.
Different
or
place,
something.
yeah.
Yeah. So Circuit City is Xing because it's another one of those. Which store would you bring back? With Radio Shack, Toys R Us, and a bunch of other things like that.
Circuit City, Toys R Us, two legendary companies, both of which were purchased by venture capitalists, stripped for parts, and taken away from us. I'm more upset about Toys R Us. That place was a legendary place. I still have sadness in my heart for Jeffrey with a G, the giraffe.
Way to go, you. I did everything I could to stay away from politics, and you brought it in there.
I'm really good at this. I will say that of all the things that take place in the United States of America on the reg, venture capitalism has got to be my least favorite.
All right, let's move on. The next thing that's Xing is Lil Nas X.
All right, so this one is kind of interesting. You all know that Lil Nas X has for a very long time.
He's controversial.
Yeah, he's leaned into certain iconographies in order to grab attention for his music. Some of it has worked.
Satan.
Very good job, Dana. He has leaned into certain elements of aspects of life to grab attention. Well, the other day, he apparently was found not shooting a music video, rolling around town in cowboy boots in his underpants, and was brought in for a psych eval. But I haven't heard any updates from that. Look, how you feel about him? I hope the dude's okay. I really do. I hope the dude's okay.
Yeah, the video out there. I mean, I didn't listen to the sound, but it looks pretty rough.
Yeah.
All right. He seems like he's having a good time, though. All right, the next thing it's Xing is Karen Gillian.
I mean, I'm not gonna lie. Like there have been some nights that I have considered, like, let me just roll around outside in my underpants and some cowboy boots.
Wow, it is Friday.
It is Friday.
Karen Gillian.
Karen Gillian, of course, one of the many stars in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. I am I'm going to assume, though I don't know. I know we were at a point where we were about to start seeing more cast announcements for Doomsday. Is it that she was announced as part of that?
She's been announced for a cast, but not that one. She is joined the cast of the Highlander reboot with Henry Cavill, Batista, and Russell Crowe.
I'm in. I'm all in.
She
I'm
is
all the way in.
supposedly the love interest for Cavill.
I'm all the way in. I did not. I don't know why. I have no explanation, and I apologize for it. I did not get super into Highlander back in the day. If Henry Cavill's attached for it,
yeah, he's the star.
I'm all in.
Yeah,
I'm all in.
And two more. One is Peacemaker. I'm not going to dwell on that. You should watch season 2. Dropped last night.
How much did you watch?
I watched the whole thing. So
in one night?
No, only one episode.
Oh,
dropped.
I thought they dropped the whole series.
Yeah, I'm not binging.
Okay.
I would be. Wouldn't be able to work today. And the other thing is the Big Ten is trending, and I'm just going to say why. They're showing a bunch of Big Ten got what they want, and a lot of them punking the SEC.
I mean, the Big Ten did get what they want for this, but here's the thing. Like, great. The SEC got what they wanted on a grander scale. The SEC gave them a quarter to get $1. Like, that's what it is. And I think that's going to be proven. I'm going to drop a social media video on this later on today. Make sure you follow me at The Rob Brown Show. Don't drink and drive. I'll punch you in the face. Have a great weekend. Enjoy football tomorrow. I cannot wait for Monday when it is game week on The Rob Brown Show in the Fan Upstate. Later. Yeah, we did it. We did it. We did it. We did it. We did it.
If did it means you timed it out to where we go past time.
No, we won't. We never do.
I don't know. Time for
Mild
me to
panic
cipher.
That leads into perfect timing every week. Every week. My little brother would like to know if Peacemaker season 2 episode 1 is quote safe for work.
No,
I'm going to assume it is the farthest from it.
No. There's a thing that happens in his house that starts with an O. I know it's spoilery, but no. It also depends on where you work. Which where he works, probably not.
Yeah. I'm gonna guess.
If you are in the porn industry, you're probably okay.
What about if I'm in sports talk radio?
No, I would not do that. Although lights out, so go for it. Anyway.
All right, dudes and dudettes.
It was one of those where my son was watching with me and immediately had to go to his phone and stuff because there are things you don't want to see with your dad in the room. And yeah, it was.
Little brother says, and I quote, "There's an explicit orgy, LOL."
That's what I said. I
didn't hear you say that.
I said a word that starts with an O.
Oh, I didn't.
What word is? Do you always half listen when I'm talking anyway?
No, I did listen. It didn't click.
It did for a lot of people there, though. It was several scenes. I mean, it's just it's background.
Was it like
it's background?
Was it comparable to the scene from the
Boys? Well, that was just yeah, but without the weird stuff and that dude who has the superpower that everyone secretly wishes they have. Yeah.
Oh man, so good. All right, dudes, I got to run. I got like 60 things to do, and then I want to watch a little women's rugby championship later today, courtesy of our boy Luke. Thanks for being here. I hope you enjoyed the show. Tell your friends about us. I would like to retire and not live under a bridge when I do. So share the show. Help us grow the show. Have a great weekend. See you back here Monday. Goodbye.